mentally.
But I don't think that's what he's talking about.
No, but I was asking you a question.
Yeah, sure.
That when you're using your modal apparatus, are you using a possible worlds framework?
When I say possible worlds, I just mean in contrasted facts. So the PSR is still going to be contrasted. So in virtue of a contingent object, we can ask the question, why does it exist as that way rather than another way? That's still going to be assumed in the PSR. So the question is, look, in virtue of, because it depends on, you take God to be an agent, correct?
Yeah, but that's aside from the contingency.
Hold on, no, it's not actually. It's crucial to the contingency.
No, it's not.
100% is.
No, it's not, because we can make the contingency argument and make a separate argument. Like traditionally, that's what's been done medievally, right? You make a contingency argument and you make a different argument. For example, there's the argument from specification or particularization.
Okay.
That argument is usually made as a standalone argument, which acts as a corollary to the contingency argument.
But even when you make corollaries for arguments, just so that the audience can understand, you make a corollary specifically because there's something in the first argument that you use that it doesn't cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so what is it being covered in the contingency argument?
The agency aspect.
Right, so you cannot
prove aspect.
Right, so you can't prove agency by PSR, you're saying?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Purely,
But what's going on is, for example, right? Sorry, just to catch me up. So you guys are talking about modal necessity, right?
You cannot. Yeah, I agree.
Show him that
you cannot prove agency necessarily in a convincing manner. So look, using the PSR alone or using a continuous argument alone.
You may be able to, but that's
I don't think so.
You don't deny the essential properties of necessary beings entail that which they explain.
What do you mean?
So, I'll give you the actual.
In a sense they do. In a sense they do.
Well, then that's going to be a modal collapse.
That's going to be a modal collapse.
No, 100% is.
No, you're saying.
I get what you're talking about. Yeah.
If you're going to give a weakened version of the PSR, well, that's fine. Right? Well, not necessarily.
Explain to me why it's going to be a modal collapse.
So the reason why it's going to be a modal collapse is because the contingency argument argues from contingent objects to a necessary
object.
Object. So the point is that if in virtue of the object, either what explains the contingent fact
is necessary,
is an essential feature of the object, well then in all possible worlds
of the necessary object.
Of the object, and in this case it's going to be in virtue of something like desire, right? Now the desire can either be an essential property of the object
or it can be
a contingent one.
Right,
if it's a contingent one.
Say that again. Go back.
In virtue of the object.
What object?
Oh,
the thing itself.
We're not proving that. We're not citing that.
No.
We're not citing that.
You're saying, wait, hold on.
I'm going to grant the argument. I'm going to say it's going to entail a video. You're not going to want to.
You're not explaining why.
I am saying why.
Why is it?
Look, first of all, there's two things that's going to be entailed by the contingency argument.
Well, hold on. Let's explain what you understand by the PSR. Explain it to the public. What do you understand? What is the PSR? What does it stand for?
PSR stands for the principle of sufficient reason.
Okay, excellent.
For any object O, if O exists, there's a sufficient reason why O exists.
Okay.
For every proposition P, if P is true, there's a sufficient reason why P is true.
So what?
For every event E, if E occurs,
but before we get there, because I know that it's going to be lots of
that is the strong version of the PSR.
Okay, fine. Let's stick with that.
Actually, that's a good question. Do you accept strong or weak PSR?
Yeah.
Let me get there. I don't really use the PSR like that.
But wait, hold on.
No, I don't
the
use
contingency
argument.
Wait, but that's important. That's important. So he's going to have to make the argument that the PSR is distinct from the contingency
argument. If you deny the PSR,
then you can't use contingency.
Hold on.
Yeah. I apologize for interrupting, by the way.
That 100% is true.
So you're telling me? Why? Why are you telling me that?
Oh, the argument.
Hold on. Why are you telling me that?
Oh, because that's just going to be principle.
So you think, excuse me. You think Leibniz in the 15th century? Let me finish.
Yeah, go on.
The coinage principle of sufficient reason, which let's just say for the sake of argument started in the 16th century in the Enlightenment period, do you think that coinage is the first and only expression of the contingency argument, or an argument from contingency?
No, that's not what he's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Good.
No, excellent.
The reason why,
I got this.
Excuse me. The reason I say that is because you started off by saying that do you accept the PSR? I'm saying that. Yeah,
you say maybe. That's what.
No. I'm saying you can make a contingency argument without the PSR.
Right, that's the important point. That's the important point.
Now, let me explain why.
Okay.
You've got two different concepts. You've got let me say three different concepts.
Yeah.
You've got the idea of explanation.
Okay.
The word explanation. You've got the word causation, and you've got the word dependency.
Okay.
And you've got the word contingency. These are four different words. Now, I'm not saying are these words synonyms?
No.
Well, he's arguing that they're distinct in some way.
Let me just finish. Are these words synonyms or not?
Well, I'm going to take it that they're not.
They're not synonyms.
No.
They're not. So a cause is different from a dependent thing. A dependent thing is different from an explainable thing. An explainable thing is different from contingent thing. So there are some things that a contingent thing has that a dependent thing doesn't. In explanation, there's some things that an explanation has that a cause doesn't. In explanation and definition. Right?
Could you highlight one of those?
Hold on. Now the PSR depends fully on the idea of explanation. Because if we're going to say, for example, that this bottle here, it has to have an explanation outside of itself. Now, the key word being what? Explanation. I can grant you one thing. Because when I was looking at it, Mario Bunge wrote a book on causation.
Sure.
It's one of the magnum opuses on the subject, actually very good on this, yeah? And he says, he looks at all the definitions of causation. He says causation is the following. It's the power of C to, it's the power of C equals E.
C equals E. Okay.
So he's basically saying that if A then B, if A then B.
There you go.
Yeah.
But that's what we said,
If
P then Q, right?
Yeah,
So
it's the same thing. If A then B, right?
Yeah.
Which if A, there's a relationship of conditionality between this and that, right?
that's true.
It's going to be a entailment relation.
That's an entailment relation,
it's
but that's an
an
explanation.
Yeah, accepted. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying to you. I'm granting you that much. But hold on. A cause is not the same as a dependent thing. Because a dependent thing is by definition something which relies on something else. A cause, by definition, is something which brings rise to other phenomena.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, excellent.
So
what I'm saying is the following. I'm putting to you right now that you can make an argument from dependency, which is effectively an argument from contingency, because traditionally it was called that.
But you said that they're distinct terms.
I'm saying this.
Traditionally it
I'm
was
saying
called
this.
that.
All cosmological arguments, okay?
Now you're bringing a new key term in.
You don't even need to say cosmological, it's fine.
Point. The point is this. You can make an argument from dependency that is completely bereft of concepts of PSR. For example, I can make the following proposition. The proposition that this is the argument in one sentence. My argument. This is my argument. If you want to engage with it, you can.
Okay.
There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things can exist. That's the argument.
Okay.
Now, this argument is bereft of the PSR.
Why?
Because the word explanation is not being used at all here.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be used. What you're saying is wait. If I could just explain. So you're saying that So the point that you're making, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that the PSR is going to be bereft of the argument that you made here, that anything for all that exists, there cannot be only that which exists, which is contingent, right? Dependent. Sorry. For anything that exists, there cannot be only that which exists, which is dependent. Or contingent.
I haven't put it that way.
You haven't said dependent or contingent?
No, I haven't put it in the language you just put it. You just.
That's fine. I'm rephrasing it. That's fine.
Okay, I didn't say it.
What exactly?
That's fine. That's right. You just say exactly.
My articulation was different.
That's fine, and I agree with it. I said that I was rephrasing.
No, but
a rephrasing which is going to keep the same content. It's not really that.
Not really. I don't want it in that way.
Okay, that's fine. Then what's the way you
As
want
long
it?
as it tells the same.
No.
Yeah, if it tells the same thing, it's fine. But if he wants it in
Not
specific
necessarily.
terms, then it's fine.
As long as it does.
Why? Who said that?
No, I'm saying.
So as long as if I said something and you said something and I said it in a different way, if what I'm saying entails the exact same relation as what you're saying, then
that's not the
it's
case.
fine.
Because argumentatively, two things can entail the same thing, but one is argumentatively true and one can be valid and one is argumentatively invalid.
Yeah, but both premises, but the argument itself can still be
So
sound.
that's what you're saying is false. Because I can say something.
Wait, do you think there's a distinction between soundness and validity?
No, I don't.
There's no wait. No. There is a distinction between validity and
No,
soundness.
of course. Because soundness
Right,
and
but you
true
said no.
premises-
Look, so
A valid thing is something which obeys the laws of logic, and a sound thing is something which has true premises.
it's actually true.
And it's valid as well.
It's true and valid.
So
Yeah,
you can have something that is valid without being true.
Yeah, of course.
Right, that's what we're saying. But what we're saying
what I'm
is,
saying to you is,
yeah, go on.
what I'm saying, I'm not sure if we're talking cross purposes or you're doing this on purpose.
No.
All I said is the following: is that there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Right, I'm going to repeat that.
Now,
So
do you understand this?
yeah, there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
That's my
That's
argument.
important.
That's my
That's your argument, right? Your argument, right? Remember, you said it's bereft of the PSR. Now you're going to have to explain what you mean by bereft of the PSR.
No, I didn't say bereft. I said
You said bereft of the PSR. You did say bereft of the PSR.
We started off by saying 4 different key terms:
Yeah.
causation, contingency, explanation, and dependence.
And then you said something.
Now,
about
what word
PSR.
did I use
Right.
in this sentence?
Right. You are specifically using dependence.
Okay, excellent. So I didn't use the word what?
Explanation.
I didn't use the word explanation, did I?
Right.
Okay, excellent.
But that doesn't mean that it's not bereft of
That
the
doesn't mean it's
PSR.
correct. Because remember, I can give you all of the instances of
It's
what
fine,
the
it's fine,
PSR
hold on.
No. I used the word dependent. I did not use the word explanation.
And we're granting that
Okay,
volume, but
excellent.
your
Fine.
argument still has to use the PSR
Yeah,
somewhere.
it still has to be so.
No, it
You
doesn't.
can't.
Absolutely.
Your conclusion does not
Because
follow.
if you say that
If
that's
the
a
PSR is
statement.
denied,
Wait, hold on.
No.
Look, the fact that he's saying that, the problem is this. If I may explain, I can explain to you why
Okay, go ahead.
it entails
Go ahead.
PSR. just to clarify, when you're saying it's, when I am understanding what you mean by bereft of the PSR, that means that in the argument that you're using, the PSR cannot be applied in any sense.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Neither, and even if that's not what you're saying, there's another thing, there's another entitlement.
So let me explain
that it
then.
cannot be implied in any sense.
No, that's not what I'm saying though.
Right, so what are you saying specifically that it's bereft of the PSR?
Let me explain it.
Explain that.
Let me explain
bereft.
it very clearly.
Yeah, go on.
The PSR is an articulation of the contingency argument that was put forward by Gottfried Leibniz, okay? And those who came after him. Do you understand me? Yeah?
The PSR is a
excuse
The
me.
PSR is a principle,
I
it
know,
may have been
but-
coined by Leibniz, but it's not restricted.
Are you listening to me?
I am, of course.
Oh, excellent. So the PSR has a very particular articulation which depends on principles of sufficient reason, but also
the articulation is
Well,
the
look, you're talking about the historical context
No,
of...
excuse
We're just
me.
talking about the
no, but
statement
that's what I'm
itself.
saying. I'm saying to you that yes, the word contingency is used. Causality is used in some of his books. So, yeah,
But that's not as important as the actual PSR
allow
itself.
me to finish.
Yeah, go on, of course.
Allow me to finish. Yes, he even uses the word causation.
Yeah.
I've looked at his books. Like the word, what's it? Monadology. That's the books that he wrote.
Oh, monadology.
Yeah, his book is called Monadology, right? I've looked at the articulation of the argument in that book, and I've looked at it in other books. And what I've seen is that he uses the terms explanation, he uses the terms causation, and he uses the terms contingency. These are the terms that he's using.
Sure.
I'm postulating to you now, all I said to you in the beginning was, it is possible to articulate versions of a contingency argument without reference, explicit reference to these key terms.
Okay.
And,
that's fine.
well,
You're just saying that I'm not using words.
excuse me, that the definitions of
words,
these,
it's fine.
no, it's not fine, because the definitions of these key terms are different. So for example,
Okay.
what is the word dependent mean? If you go on even a vernacular definition of the word dependent,
Sure.
dependent thing is something which depends.
Which vernacular?
Vernacular, go on a dictionary definition, Oxford
sorry.
Dictionary, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
If
Okay.
you're like a layman's, if I go now, someone
You
right,
mean a colloquial definition?
or whatever,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, it's
vernacular
fine.
is a synonym.
Yeah.
Go and find online what the word dependent means in human language, in English language. It means something which relies on something else for its existence.
Yeah,
something which relies upon something else for its existence.
It's fine.
Now it's different for me to say this bottle depends on something else for its existence. Then for me to say this bottle requires an explanation outside of itself in order to
I know.
what do you call it? A bottle depends on an explanation outside of itself in order to be explained.
Okay,
to
so
be explicable.
there is a point
So
there
that's
that
what I'm saying to you. Excuse me.
It's fine, it's
All I'm
fine.
saying
He's
to you
still-
is, if you want to deal with the argument at hand, my articulation of the argument, although I can defend the PSR, I haven't got a problem with it. I think it's a good argument. It's not really the argument of choice for me. The argument of choice for me is using my articulation. You want to deal with it, you can.
Yeah.
My argument is as follows. It's simple as this. You cannot have a state of affairs. It's a postulation. I'm postulating. I'm saying to the people. I'm saying to you. You cannot have a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Okay, because it leads to a range of different absurdities. Now we can talk about those absurdities if you like. Contradictions and absurdities and problems. That's what I'm saying.
you just
so
stated
then,
PSR.
Yeah.
You just did it. So hold on. Alex, please. If it's okay, look. This is the problem. This is the
think
thing that you
that's what
said.
I'm
No. You made a
It's similar to the
postulate.
PSR.
If I can
Similar.
finish, right? So we gave you like really good ample time to speak, and I appreciate the fact they gave ample time to speak. I don't have water, but I'm thirsty, but it's fine. Here's the point. I was just making a joke. It's like irrelevant. I'm trying to keep the thing going.
Okay, go ahead.
So you said to everyone with the huge arms that you have that you made a postulate, right? With my skinny arms, I'm going to say that your postulate has to require the PSR for it to make sense. So when you say the postulate, for example, that, and I'm gonna try and see if I can remember exactly the words that you said, because again there was a
There
problem with the
cannot be
definition.
a state of dependent things in reality.
Yeah.
No.
There cannot be a state of affairs where every single thing is
No, I
dependent.
didn't say that either.
Okay, what did you exactly say?
I said there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
That would, okay, so how is that
Don't
different from what
write
I'm
it
saying? I don't need to. I'm again, because
be
the
said for
content of the statement is
What
what's
do you mean you don't need
important.
to? You're getting it wrong
Yeah,
each time.
because I'm getting what you exactly are saying wrong, but
That's
the
what you've
actual
got to deal with,
content
though.
of the
But no, but the
statement is
entailment is
important.
still
Hold
the
on.
I don't care.
It's like saying 2 plus 2 and 4 are different things. They're the same thing, right? If you articulate it the same, then the articulation is the
I
same.
don't agree. I
Right.
think that I want
You
my
don't agree.
articulation to be dealt with.
Okay. Just repeat it one more time, so then we can all be clear.
There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Okay, there cannot be a state of affairs
Only
where
dependent.
only dependent
Yeah.
things exist.
Yep.
Right. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, because believe it.
That's PSR. That's PSR. You just done it. You just did PSR.
You just did PSR.
You just
I'm
used.
not-
That's a sufficient
No,
reason.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Is there a reason why this postulate is true?
Are you asking me to justify my premise?
No, I'm asking you if there is
Are you asking
a
me to
reason why this postulate is true.
Are you with me here? Are you listening?
I'm very much with you. I'm here.
I totally agree with you on
Yeah.
the fact
Yeah.
that there's a great flesh that joins what I am saying with the principle of sufficient reason spoken about by Gottfried Leibniz. I understand that, and I think everybody understands that. The Academy understands that.
If I may
But
touch on
let
this
me
point,
finish.
though,
But
because
the
it's
Academy,
something very
excuse
important.
me, the Academy also understands the distinction between these arguments. That's why they name them different things in all languages that have been articulated in. I'm saying that, for example, if you have a peer-reviewed paper in the Philosophy of Religion journal, right, which talks about the principle of sufficient reason, it's not seen as synonymous with an idea of the imkan or the burhan by Ibn Sina or whatever.
I agree.
I
So,
agree.
There's a distinction
So
between
all I'm saying is,
so there's a distinction between a causal principle, which some arguments employ, and in the PSR. In all arguments, the PSR is used, but not in all arguments the causal principle
you're
is
not
used.
understanding
So I don't
it.
have to ask you for a causal principle.
have you read monadology?
No, I don't have to read it. No.
I'm not telling you whether you have to read it or
Because-
not. I'm asking you a question whether you have read
the
it.
point is, let's
have
say.
you read monadology? Have you read it?
No, I don't need.
Okay, so you're talking about something you have no knowledge of.
No, I'm talking about something that needs to be. Hold on.
Argument.
The problem is this: when you
Why
are
are you
using
talking
certain,
about?
if I may finish, please, thank you. So when we are using certain languages, right? We're using certain language. The PSR is a term that starts with Leibniz, for example, when he uses certain terms to establish in his academia in Germany. He also makes.
Leibniz.
Gottfried.
Okay.
So Gottfried makes certain like emendations in his work, probably around like let's say 10 years before he died, where he talks
But
about.
you haven't
like,
read his
PSR.
book, so you don't know what
I
he
haven't.
does.
No, I haven't read that specific part of his.
That's why he articulates the
I'm
argument.
talking about his letters.
We're talking about the principle.
Hold on. I'm talking about his letters.
No, but you don't know his argument then.
No, I'm talking about his
How
letters
can
that
you
he
tell
makes
me about-
afterwards,
No,
right?
but you're articulating an argument, you haven't even read the book.
I'm articulating an argument that stems even beyond the book, because the principle of sufficient reason,
is
even
beyond-
if coined,
this is kind of beyond you, kind of.
even coined by Leibniz, you and I will both agree that academics can still use the PSR, even if they haven't read specifically the magnum opus
but
of Leibniz.
you're not agreeing with my argument.
No, the argument that you're making is that you can make a
Where's my
postulate without the PSR.
Okay,
That's
well-
the postulate that you made.
Listen to me.
That's the postulate you made.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Okay, can I just...
No, you said it's bereft. You said it's bereft of the PSR. That's what he said the entire time.
Okay, well, let me explain maybe...
Yeah, what bereft means. That's what I said before.
Let me cross purposes. Maybe you don't understand. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's my fault. I'll take responsibility for my actions, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me make it clear again.
Go on.
I'm saying, yes, I sympathize very, very clearly, academically, with the ideas of the PSR. I don't necessarily even disagree with it. Strong versions of it. No problem. What?
But that wouldn't tell
That's
modal
a modal
collapse.
collapse.
That's the argument that he's making.
Like literally all academics have accepted.
Even the SCP entry that's recently been written.
I haven't finished what I've just said. I don't necessarily even disagree with it.
Okay.
However, I'm not making the argument. My argument, if you want to deal with it, you can. If you don't, I don't want to waste your time. Honestly, it's as follows. Excuse me. My argument is as follows. If you want to deal with it, you can. You can talk about the PSR. We all know now you haven't read the book of
I didn't have to read the magnum opus. I can read things about the PSR.
It's like talk about the Islam.
Hold on. That's a bit fallacious.
No, it's not.
Me
You
not
haven't read it.
reading one specific
It's
book
okay.
that starts the arguments for the PSR does
No,
not mean that I
it's
can't
the
understand the
key.
PSR.
It's
For
like talking
example,
about why.
if you haven't read Aquinas'
Quran.
commentary on the
I'm
sentences,
not gonna take
that
you
doesn't mean that you haven't understood
I get
Aquinas.
it,
That just means that you haven't read one of his
I
magnum opus.
understand what you're saying,
Right,
but with
so-
all due respect,
again,
I
with all due
can't
respect-
take you seriously if you haven't read the primary text.
Again, the primary. Hold on. There's no primary text
one
for
of
a
the primary
logical
texts.
principle. It's like saying, because you haven't read.
There is
Okay,
actually, yeah.
okay, so I'll give you a concrete example. If you haven't read the prior analytics, you cannot talk about the laws of identity. Of course not.
No, I'm not saying
Right,
that.
right.
I'm just saying
That's
that
exactly
I'm
what
not-
you're saying. You said that you can't take me seriously because I haven't read this specific book. That's false.
Okay, listen, excuse
It's a
me.
false argument.
It's not an argument. I'm just giving my
That's
opinion.
false. Sorry, it's a false opinion. I should say. It's
How's
a really
it a
bad.
false opinion?
It's a bad
It's
opinion.
opinion.
Yeah, people
It's
can
a
have
bad
bad
opinion.
opinions. It's a bad opinion.
Okay, excuse
Yeah,
me.
I mean by false I mean bad. It's
Okay,
a derivative.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All
What
I'm
do you mean
saying-
whatever? That's my opinion too, right?
Okay, your opinion is fine.
That's good. Right, and I agree and I accept that. That's good.
Excellent. What I'm saying to you is this. Instead of talking about a PSR,
Yeah.
I have an argument I'm putting forward today.
Yeah.
Since you guys are trying to be analytic philosophers by the looks of it.
I'm not an analytic philosopher.
I'm a continental.
Oh, continental philosopher, something like that. Okay,
You know what
excellent.
continental philosophy is?
Yes, I do. It's kind of like the difference between there's two main schools of thought in the Western academia. By the way, what is your credentials for you to be asking me this question?
I'm just asking. I'm just a person in the park.
Okay, yeah, continental philosophy like Nietzsche, for example, would represent the school of thought where it's more about subjective
But
experience,
what is
more
that?
about subjective experiences where demonstrative proof and using valid argumentation is not at the fore.
That doesn't really tell me the distinction between.
Yeah,
I mean,
continental
there's different.
But even analytic philosophers use the same thing,
no
right?
problem,
Like, that's
no
not really
problem.
a
But
definition.
most schools of thought here in the West, for example, they're
Yeah.
analytic philosophy schools. You guys are undergraduates, right?
Well, no, I don't go to uni.
You don't go uni, no problem. It's not a prerequisite. What I'm saying to you is as follows now. Go to the second point. I have an argument to make. I don't know why you put your sunglasses on all of a sudden.
Because I can't hold them anymore.
Okay, no problem. What I'm saying to you is as follows.
There's no reason.
question is, I have a postulation to make.
Yeah, we've
It's
got.
not. I agree with you. There's some aspect of the PSR which is there. I agree. I totally yes. I totally agree. It's not the same articulation. That's what I'm saying. It's not the same argument.
I don't disagree.
No one's disagreeing.
Perfect.
Like,
It's semantics.
I don't disagree that the arguments are identical.
They're not
I'm just
identical.
saying, given that you've made a postulation,
Yeah. There
is
has
there
to be
a
a reason
reason
why.
as to why that postulation is true?
What we're saying
rather
is,
than not true?
what we're saying is this:
The
is that
PSR
whenever
is
anyone makes a
contrasted.
postulate, they have to use the PSR.
All
That's
right.
what we're saying.
Are you? Is there a reason for that?
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. What's the reason?
Yeah, because of the impossibility of the contrary.
Okay. So
Let's say that.
I'm not denying the PSR,
You're
bro.
not denying that, but what we're saying is, well, if I can just clarify my point, right?
Of course.
Thank you. Well, and just to clarify for every single person here, including yourself, what I'm saying to you and what he's saying to you is that anyone that makes any postulation, any argument at all, you have to use the PSR to some
Either
degree.
a strong version,
Either a strong or weak
I
version.
don't-
That's what he's saying to
I
you.
don't disagree with that.
Okay.
Amen. Great.
I
You're
don't
saying,
disagree with
what, are you okay? So now we have to talk about what version are you using?
No.
Using the
I'm
strong one?
not using that though. That's
You just
no.
You said that in your argument you've used some form of the PSR, so either you're using the strong form or the weak form. That's what we're saying.
there's only two options.
I know you guys have come with a PSR. I'm not defending the PSR.
I just came randomly.
No, you-
and then
no,
I got
you gave an
cameras on.
argument.
You spoke to me about PSR,
No,
bro.
you gave an
came
argument.
out and spoke to me about PSR, and then you talk about modal logic S5. Then
I didn't mention S5.
No one said that's fine.
excuse me, what is modal logic? Well, how's it represented?
Well, I didn't mention anything about S5.
Okay.
I spoke
Wait, hold
about
on.
I spoke about the K
Modal-
axiom.
excuse me,
I
hold on.
spoke about the K axiom.
Modal
and the
logic
distribution axiom.
is abbreviated as S5.
No. There are different systems in modal logic.
Modal logic
There are
is
different
S5.
systems. There's
Modal logic
S4,
is-
there's
yeah,
S5
S4,
modal
S5.
logic, there's a T axiom,
Except-
there's
So
a
then
K
modal
axiom,
logic
there's the
wouldn't
L
just be
axiom.
S5 then,
It's
would
not
it?
just
S4 and
S5.
S5, yes, true.
Because there's controversy
No,
in
but you mentioned
amongst
S5 in particular. You were talking
I
about
did
the
not mention S5.
No, but you were talking about the K axiom.
Yeah, the K axiom.
That's an S5.
No. The K axiom is presupposed in S5, but
Yes,
the K
but-
axiom is in the first
Whatever,
initial
man,
axiom.
whatever. You're wasting my
So
time.
then it's not just
It's
S5
just
then, is
S5.
it?
It's S4 and S5.
It's not really.
No,
no.
Here's the
it's presupposed, but it's not.
no.
It's like, because look, the
Let me just finish with this.
S4 also has
Okay, excuse me. With all due respect, you're not qualified,
It doesn't-
and you're not read. So here's the point.
That's not an
That's not an
argument. That's not an argument. No.
I'm not making- sorry, I'm not making-
No. That's an argument from authority. I could say,
It doesn't matter if I haven't read.
I could say that,
Objective
I could say that an 11-year-old doesn't know anything about high school, but they could give me the same arguments. It wouldn't matter.
I'm obviously not.
Okay, you have again. I can say that I have never read a single book in my life. It wouldn't
Objective
matter.
fact.
That's an argument from authority.
Objective fact.
That doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm making it.
Okay, so you're making a fallacious argument then. That's fine. So a qualified person is making a fallacious argument. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense.
It's not
Come on.
Come on.
We go start. We go start again. Saying that I'm not qualified is not an argument. We all know this.
I don't care.
Right. So you don't care that it's not a bad. That's a bad
I'm not
argument.
making-
That's fine
it's
by
not an
you.
argument.
I know. You're saying.
making an
okay,
argument.
Okay. You're saying.
I'm
okay.
simply telling
You're
you
saying
you're
I'm not
not
qualified.
That's
Right.
true or false?
That's poisoning the
Is it
well.
true or
That's
false?
poisoning the
Is it true or
well.
false?
I haven't given any
Is it
credentials.
true or false?
I don't need to.
Is it true or false?
I don't need to.
Is it true or false?
I'm not going to verify the claim.
Is it true or
I'm
false?
not going to verify
Is
it.
it true or
I don't need to verify
Is
it.
it true or false? You already
We
did.
don't need to verify
You
it.
haven't read the book. You haven't read the book that you're.
You don't need to
Because
read the book.
because again, we're not studying the history of Gottfried Leibniz.
I don't have to
We're looking
study
at the
the history
PSR as a
of
basic
PSR.
principle,
Okay,
and we know that, and that's
You're
okay.
not tested. You're not
That's
tested.
fine.
Okay,
I'm not
hold on,
testing.
here's the thing.
Wait, hold on.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not
Second
testing.
point.
What?
Okay, you're not testing.
That's not
Second point.
something that
Second
needs to
You
be
can be an
brought to attention
academic
at
and
all.
still get
I'm
things
making the
wrong.
point.
Exactly,
I'm
like
making-
Timothy Paul.
You're making an
I'm
argument
making
which
the
is
point.
wrong because your argument.
How do you know?
You're making an argument that's wrong.
You're a layman.
It doesn't matter.
You're a layman.
Okay,
Okay, second
I'm a
point.
layman, but your
That's
argument
not an argument. Just saying that you're a layman, it's not an argument, and you know
Your
this.
argument
Okay, let me
entails
make
that
my
God
argument.
hasn't got anything.
My argument is
That's
false.
anything in
My
your
argument
is
entails
false.
necessarianism.
My argument is as follows. Do you want to deal with it or do you want to run away?
Let's deal with it.
Okay,
Deal
okay,
with it.
but
Let's
no
deal
one's
with
running
the
away.
first point.
You
Okay.
keep trying to
Just
say
deal with
that
my
you're
argument.
qualified and we're not. That's
I don't
not
say I'm
supposed to be
qualified at
something.
all.
Look, let's
Okay,
just
are you
deal with the
qualified?
premise of
Now you're
the
asking me a question.
I'm asking you if you're qualified.
I don't want to verify.
You don't want to verify. That's fine. You don't need to.
Okay,
That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's great. So then it's hold on. So then it's one unverified person with another unverified person having a conversation. We agree on that.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay. You want to say your hands?
Absolutely.
Okay,
There you
let's
go.
move
So
on.
now that we've done it, let's get the postulate again,
Okay,
right?
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go on.
My postulation is as follows.
Yeah.
My postulation is.
Yeah, go on. Oh, pins and needles.
Cannot have a state of affairs. I'm telling you this because this is my PhD thesis.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, that's completely fine.
And anyway, this is how I put
Where's
it.
the PhD
What are you
thesis?
laughing at?
I'm just saying.
It doesn't really matter. That's what we're saying.
Hey, let them have their chance.
They do this all the time, though.
I know, but let them
You've
have
never
their
seen me
chance.
before.
Let them have their chance. This is my PhD thesis, been peer reviewed.
That's great.
Many people have seen it.
Yeah, that's
and I
fine.
want to see if you guys have a chance at defending it.
Yeah.
It's been through a peer review process.
Yeah, that's fine.
So let me see if you can answer it, because I don't want to waste my time and yours. I have a chapter of my dissertation, my thesis, my 3-year dissertation.
That's great.
Which is about Gottfried Leibniz, where I had to look at modal ideology and all that stuff.
Yes,
And I have a separate chapter about Ghazali's argument. I have a separate chapter about Avicenna's argument. I have a chapter, and all of them are different forms of the contingency argument.
True.
At no point in my academic career did anybody tell me, actually, you're mentioning the PSI everywhere here. You might as well just do what you want. I've spoken to academics at the highest level. With all due respect, you guys aren't qualified. I spoke to people at the highest level.
Okay, that's great.
I
That's
don't
not the point
care.
we're making.
I spoke to, and all of them told me this is different from this. It's different from this. It's a different chapter.
That's not the point that you're making.
I told you there's a
People can
distinction.
take your view or they can take the view
There
of
is
the
a
academics.
distinction.
No problem.
That's not a distinction. They can
No
take
problem.
either the
No
view that you're
problem.
doing or the view that you're
I don't-
proposing.
my
And the view
question
that you're
is-
proposing
Okay.
necessitates PSR
You're
to be
wasting my time.
explained.
I'm going to give you my argument. My argument
No
is
one's
this
wasting
one.
your time.
This is
We're
the
just
argument of my
clarifying a point.
dissertation. That's why I've been able to say it with great fluidity. And I've been repeating it, and you haven't responded.
We've responded multiple times. And in fact,
we asked if there's
hold on,
a
hold on, no,
reason.
it's fine. So this is the point. So you
What
then,
did I say?
okay, so either you repeated the multiple argument multiple times,
Do you
or
want
you
me to say it
haven't
again?
said it.
Don't say it
So,
again.
okay, either you've repeated the argument multiple
Do you want
times,
me to say it
or
again?
you haven't said it.
Do you want me to
So
say it again?
when we are
What is the
addressing your point, hold
argument?
on,
What's the argument?
hold on, I'm addressing the statements that you made
So what's
before,
my argument?
which was about your PhD thesis. I'm just
What's
gonna
my
finish
argument?
the argument that's gonna be happening now. So when it comes to the same academics that review your paper, they, in their reviews of your paper, because I'm sure you've received reviews, obviously there are certain academics, postgrads that will help you with the paper as well when you're writing it, because you've been writing it for 3 years. These same individuals will tell you ways that you can improve the paper or ways that you can make your
Are you
argument
giving me
more
academic
forceful.
advice now,
I'm not
or-
giving academic
So
advice.
what
I'm just
are you
telling you the
talking about?
process. That has nothing to do with
I
it.
don't need to know the
what I'm
process from
talking
another
about,
qualified.
what I'm talking about specifically is that
How am I
even
telling
those
the
same
process for?
people that are reviewing your work,
What about
the
them?
same people that are reviewing your work, right?
Yeah.
They will at least accept in part that these different contingency arguments,
Yeah,
what
what's it?
underlies them is the PSR. Now they don't explicitly refer to the PSR.
That's just true.
That's just true for contingency
If you understand
arguments
what
in
the PSR
general,
is, it's just
and we know
going
that.
to be true for all of them. There's going to be a distinction in a causal principle, which contingent arguments, which not all.
Specifically, metaphysically for the PSR, that's what I mean.
Okay, I
But
know
the
you.
PSR is going to be presupposed in all of
Let me-
these
Right,
pieces
that's
of
what we're saying,
contingency.
You're
yeah.
talking about PSR. Let me give you my argument, my articulation. If you want to deal with it, you can.
can deal
If
with
you
it.
don't,
We
everyone's
can.
going to see that you haven't.
Yeah.
Here's the point. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things can exist.
Is there a reason why that's true?
No, I'm not asking is there a reason or not. That's my question. Go ahead.
That's not a question.
That's my postulation. Do you want to respond to it?
Okay, so
Do you agree or disagree?
I wanna respond to
do
the.
you
I
agree or
wanna
disagree?
respond to the postulate. So if I'm gonna respond to the postulate,
Do you agree or disagree
then I'm
with
gonna
that?
respond to it in this
But do you
way.
agree or disagree
Okay,
with
okay.
this?
I'm just gonna use Hitchens razor.
Do you agree or disagree with
I'm
it?
gonna use Hitchens razor.
Do you agree or disagree?
I'm going to use Hitchens
I don't
razor.
see
Do
any
you agree or
evidence.
disagree?
I don't see really any evidence to believe in this.
Oh, really?
Right? There's
So if
not
you-
been there's not
really?
been a sufficient reason given.
Oh, really?
So when a sufficient reason is given, then I can agree or
we
not.
can agree.
Now I can tell you that the statement that you're saying is cognitive. We can agree there. The statement has
So do you
cognitive
agree or disagree
information.
with it?
I don't agree or disagree with it because there's not
Okay,
been a
so-
sufficient reason
Oh,
given.
you don't agree or disagree with it?
I can dismiss
So you're
it as
agnostic.
just that, a
So
postulate.
no problem. So you're
I can dismiss it
so,
just as
so
a
you're
postulate.
ignorant of its truth.
I'm not saying I'm ignorant of its truth.
You're
I'm
ignorant.
saying I'm
That's
saying
what
that
you
there's no
just
sufficient
admitted.
reason
He
for that.
doesn't know.
No,
You're ignorant.
I'm saying that okay. You're using hold on. It seems to be the case that you're using certain buzzwords to sort of like
No, but
articulate
that's what you
points.
just said.
But what I'm
You're
going to say, no.
ignorant.
What
You
I
don't know
said,
right or wrong.
what I said is that
Are
I
you
can
ignorant?
use Hitchens razor.
Hold on.
I can just dismiss the claim
Hold
as
on.
a claim
No,
in
but
general.
dismiss everything.
I'm not saying that I'm dismissing the claim
I
as
can dismiss
false.
the claim
I'm not
that
affirming
I
the claim as
exist.
true.
You can dismiss that.
I can
said
say-
exist, I dismiss that. I'm
Yeah,
asking a
you can
question.
dismiss that if there's no sufficient reason given, and there's going to be sufficient reasons given for your existence.
Okay, no problem. I'm asking a question.
Yeah, go on.
The proposition, there cannot be a state of affairs where
Yeah.
only dependent things exist.
Yeah.
You're saying you don't agree or
Is that
disagree.
proposition contingent?
No, I'm not asking questions. I'm asking you questions. I'm
It's
asking you questions.
it's either a contingent or a necessary
Do you agree or
proposition.
disagree?
It's
Do you agree or disagree?
It's either
Do you agree or
contingent
disagree?
or necessary
Do you agree or
proposition, my
disagree?
friend.
Given
That's
that
what's
it's
going
either
on.
Do you agree or
contingent or
disagree?
necessary,
Do you agree or disagree?
given that it's either contingent or
Yeah.
necessary, then I can agree to the one or the other.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
Is it
No, I'm
contingent?
not answering the question. I agree or disagree?
About your specific
Yeah,
question?
agree or disagree?
I mean, I disagree.
Disagree?
Yeah, 'cause-
Why do you disagree?
Well, no. Then that means that he has to give a sufficient reason for his
Yeah,
point. That's
yeah.
the point.
Why do you disagree?
Well, then
Hold
you
on,
just
hold
said
on. Why
that
do
you can make
disagree?
arguments without the
No,
PSR.
why do you disagree?
So he can
Why
just do the
do you
same
disagree?
thing.
I mean, he's not wrong about
Why
that.
do you disagree?
He's not
You can
wrong
just say
about
the same
that.
thing.
I don't have to give a sufficient reason.
Why do you disagree?
Well, look, first of all,
Why do you disagree?
I'll tell you why I disagree.
What's your sufficient
Well,
reason?
my sufficient reason.
Yeah. What's it?
But you have a sufficient reason too. I hope
No,
you
no,
know
go,
that.
what's yours?
Well, look, there's a distinction
Get into it,
first
go
of
on.
all between.
Wait, no.
Test the
Then he just entered explosion.
Test the
then.
waters.
Yeah, I've kind of.
Yeah, you've gone. He's entered explosion already. It's fine.
I know you're scared.
No,
I know
no,
you're
no,
scared.
In fact,
Your argument
in fact,
entails
in fact,
all the
Hold on. Give back. We're testing the waters.
Test the waters.
And for some reason, there seems to be like a visceral fear for just saying that that's the reason.
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? No problem. Both of you together. Why is it wrong?
Do you know what necessitarianism is?
Why is it wrong?
Do you know what necessitarianism is?
Don't ask me questions. You're unqualified. Why is it wrong?
That's going to be the entitlement.
Tell me you're underqualified. Ask a question.
That's not a point to be made.
Telling me I'm underqualified.
That's not an appeal to be made. It's just poisoning the world. It's poisoning the world.
I like to poison.
You like to poison the world, so you like to have dishonest argument. That's fine. And then you're basically being dishonest. Very good. It's right. Yeah, so you're being dishonest.
Now I'm asking a question.
That's fine.
Ask me, why do you disagree with it? Test the waters.
Your argument,
Test the waters.
because that will entail something called a modal collapse.
How?
It's called a distribution axiom.
How?
The implication of A being necessary and implying that B.
What's A here? What's A in this analogy?
For anything that exists.
Anything that exists. Any contingent fact.
Well, hold on. I'm not saying anything contingent fact. That's not what I said in my argument.
But he's hold on. He's just giving the actual axiom. He's giving the actual axiom.
Look, you agree.
Use my articulation.
Look, the conclusion of your argument is that there exists a necessary cause or necessary.
I haven't said that in my argument.
You never said that.
No, he said no. He didn't say that. No. He doesn't need to say it. He's saying that it's an implication. He's saying it's a necessary implication. That's what he's saying.
Both of you, come on.
He's saying it's a necessary implication. Put your head together and actually answer the implication.
What's the conclusion of your argument?
No, you don't
What's the
answer
conclusion
that.
of your argument?
My conclusion is as follows. Or my postulation is as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Test the waters. Tell me why it's wrong. Why is it wrong?
You understand you can have contingency. You understand you can have contingency
Why
arguments.
is it wrong?
You understand you can have contingency arguments under an atheistic.
I don't care about all that. Tell me why it's wrong.
Then you don't care about his reason. Then you don't care about his
Why is it
reason.
wrong? Why is
He's
it
giving
wrong?
the reason why. Yes, he is. What did he say? Then 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 what did he say? What did he say?
He said,
hold on. What did he say?
Perfectly consistent with atheistic naturalistic account. You
Yes,
understand?
sir.
What is? What you just said. There cannot be. Look, you can have some necessary grounding, and it not be like an agent that caused like the reality to exist. You never said cause. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You never said necessary
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
I never said that.
Does it have to be cause?
Yeah,
Does it have to be
exactly.
Look,
Why
you
you
running? Why
Please
stop talking?
No one's running. You got your eyes bulged. He's just using a different word.
You're still saying there's a
Test
sufficient
the waters.
explanation.
Why is it?
Is there or is there not a sufficient
No,
explanation?
you said no.
Is there any? No. I'm asking you.
Provide evidence.
Is there?
No,
Is
don't
there?
ask me
Is
anything.
there?
I'm asking you a question.
You see this shift
I
of the
said
burden
that
of
they
proof.
cannot
You have a claim.
Test the
You have a
waters.
particular postulation. We've asked for a sufficient.
He's just saying test the waters, but again, like the point is that the actual statement itself
Can we
is
just
just the
analytic
argument.
claims all the time?
What's your argument? What's your argument? What's your argument?
You are the one presenting argument to me.
No,
You're
you
making
said
a
you said it's wrong.
postulation.
You said it's wrong. That's a
I said,
fact.
yeah,
Does he have to give a sufficient reason why?
Wait,
Yes.
why?
Go ahead.
So then why are you saying that he has to give a sufficient reason
Why
why?
don't you and I
Test the waters.
Wait.
Test the waters.
So I have to give a sufficient
Test the
reason, but you
waters.
don't.
I don't mind. Go first.
Wait, so
you're saying it's wrong. Why is it wrong?
Wait, so you can deny
Is it wrong? You
the
said it's
PSR
wrong,
and say
though.
this?
You said it's wrong.
Wait.
Why is it wrong?
Wait, so the PSR can be
That's
denied
wrong for a reason.
Are you saying
Is
the
it wrong
PSR
for a
can be
reason?
Dismissed
denied?
without evidence. We've already said that. It's razor. That's why he has
PSR for a reason. What's the reason?
Is there sufficient reason why the PSR can be
Why
denied?
is the PSR wrong?
Is
Why
there
is it wrong?
I never.
Why
Whoa!
is the
You're not even
Why is the
listening to
argument
me.
wrong?
Oh,
Why is the argument wrong?
Because your argument
Yeah,
holds
yeah.
a strong version of the PSR, and the strong
That's
version of the
that's
PSR.
wrong.
Oh my!
Why is it wrong?
Jesus
What's
Christ.
evidence?
Why is it wrong?
Why is it wrong? Do
Please
you understand
support
English?
it.
Why is it wrong?
Very well.
He's saying the reason why is
Why
because
is it
his
wrong?
argument
The reason
relies
why-
on a
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
version of the
yeah,
PSR,
why is it wrong?
gives
Yeah,
certain
because it's
implications. That's what he's trying to
Why?
say.
Why?
But he's just saying why
Why?
repeatedly. So it's
Because
not
it
really-
results in a
Go ahead.
modal
There has to be an
collapse
axiom.
where
How?
nothing is
You have to
coming
make some
out.
sort of assumption
I'll
to make
show
an
you
argument.
how.
Yeah, exactly. That's an axiom, but we're saying that when you make the contingency argument,
Yeah.
the contingency argument relies on the PSR.
Because you don't have to
Right,
say the
and what's the wrong?
He's saying no.
Okay,
You don't
fair
have
enough.
to explicitly say
No,
that.
no, no.
Okay.
That's what, but he's saying yes.
So does it say PSR is necessary?
Test the waters.
No, that's different. He's saying that in order to have a contingency argument in general, you have to use the PSR to some degree. Now, either you're going to use the strong version of the PSR or the weak version. Now, we're trying to see whether the strong version is going to entail modal collapse, which it does.
But how does that refute his argument?
His argument is that I'm going to just say a statement and I'm not going to give a sufficient reason.
You said it's wrong. You said it's wrong. Why is it
Not
wrong?
every argument has to have a premise.
Why is it wrong?
Not every argument has to have a premise.
Example.
Yeah, but that's what he's doing. He's not making a premise. He's making an argument based upon an
No, he said
assumption.
no, that's a postulate. He made a postulate.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's not an argument.
For what?
An argument has a conclusion.
Not sufficient reason.
But his argument has a conclusion.
No, his argument is just
There
an
must be a
assumption.
necessary being. That is a conclusion.
That's not a conclusion in his argument. His argument is that there is not anything, that there cannot be any state of affairs where there are only contingent things. Sorry, only dependent things.
Yeah.
If
So
that-
there is a conclusion, right?
Right, that means that he has to make that in another statement. It's not going to be in the same statement. It's going to be another statement. So now you have two statements.
No. It's connected to that statement.
Right, which is
Therefore, there has to be
so
a
is it the same statement as the one before?
Oh, I see where you're coming from.
Right.
So you want one argument. That's it.
Yeah.
So you can't have a premise. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
I'm saying that when you make an argument, you have to have multiple premises.
Not necessarily.
Right, which is what you were saying. Right, so give an argument that doesn't have a premise.
But you know what his argument is.
His argument is the first. I'm asking you for an example. An example of an argument that only has one premise.
What modal
He just did. He just
No,
did.
he gave a postulate.
How? How?
Okay, if you want me to explain,
Yeah.
let me explain. Look, do you know what the collapse is first?
Oh,
Explain it in your ways, in your language.
hold on.
Don't ask me about things. You're underqualified. Answer your way.
that's not
If I'm
saying that you're
underqualified, you should know.
underqualified is a
If I'm
point.
underqualified, you
Objective
should know.
Okay, we can grant it's an objective fact, but that has no relevance to the argument that's being made here.
What's a modal collapse?
We're talking about modal categories.
What's a modal collapse?
We're talking about modal categories.
What's a modal collapse?
What's modal collapse?
What's a modal collapse? I just want to know what
Are you going to let him speak?
He's asking him what's modal
Are you going to let him
collapse.
speak?
Don't speak.
We're wasting the time. We spoke to him last week.
Really?
We support. Wallahi, we spoke to him.
No.
Yeah, it's the book. I'm answering my question.
He's saying modal collapse.
The same problem.
Explain why is you've got modes. Yeah, you've got different modalities, right?
What modality you use?
I've used the word dependency. That's
What
the only thing
modality are you
I'm not
using?
using contingency and
What
necessity.
modality
I'm
are
not
you
using those modalities.
What
I'm not using them.
Do you know what modality is?
Yes, I am.
What's
I'm not using the language of modality. I'm not using the language of modality. I'm not using the language of modality. I'm not using. What is it? You tell me.
No, I'm asking you.
And it says contingent in the
Why should I ask you? You're an academic. You should teach me. You're an academic. You're a qualified person. What's a modality?
Okay, so
what's modality?
I'm not using the modal categories. I'm using the word dependency.
But then define the term that you're using.
I'm using the word dependency.
You said that there are different types of modality.
Contingent or determined by the various
aligned with somebody who's a disability.
I don't have A, I don't care enough.
within the very definition.
Ali, you've talked to me. Ali,
How are you aligned with
you've
somebody
talked to me before. Had a further conversation.
Has the word
I don't
contingent.
have
in it.
hate,
You're still
bro.
using a modal sense of the word.
I don't have hate.
You're still
Yeah,
using
I
a
don't
modal
have
sense
hate.
of the word.
Aligned with someone who's a
Contingent is in the definition.
No, he's a theist. He's a theist. He's a theist.
Yes.
Wait, Rico, are you a theist? You're not a theist?
No.
Thank you.
No, as in a theist, like a classical theist. In a sense. Yeah, but remember when we talked about theism before, before we came in with the theism?
Atheist.
Yeah, atheist. Yeah, thank you.
And then the Christian aligned with an atheist.
Why is it going to be?
No, not an atheist. He said that he's an atheist. What the hell?
Why is it going to be modal?
He just said, oh my god.
I'm not using the
Ali, he
language.
just said he's atheist.
I'm not using the language.
He said that he's atheist.
Come on, let's do with the atheist. Then we'll talk.
No, he said he's atheist.
It's the postulate.
Now I'm a classical theist. He's a different kind of theist. He's Hegelian.
Of the negation.
This guy, he denies, he doesn't believe in God.
No, he denies, like, for example, he denies, like, personability, he denies miracles. I agree with that.
Your particular postulate.
Contradiction of
Bro,
the
this guy's my friend, like, I know him.
Look,
Like, I've
negation
spoken to him
is
before, like,
a
yes,
contradiction.
What are you talking about?
That's fine, but yeah, so for the argument, for the argument,
Atheist, why should be on our side?
that's fine, but no, the point is that, the problem is he's making, the problem is that the side of truth is that he's making an argument that will entail modal collapse.
So the negation.
So modal collapse is
Yes.
What I'm saying is,
I know.
why are you on this side?
Because he's saying the truth. I don't care about like who's what or what. I'm talking about the arguments themselves. That's why I cover my face. Because what I say is more important than who I am.
That's
I know. And you mocked me last time for that. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
And that's fine. But Ali, here's the point. When we talk about modal collapse, right? Say for example.
You're making this
Really simply. Imagine an 11-year-old girl wrote like everything, like wrote like great mathematical theory, right? That wouldn't disqualify her from what she's saying is true.
You've got different modalities.
Just because she's 11 doesn't mean that the content that she's saying is wrong. I know, but what he's doing is every single time he makes an argument, he's saying you're not qualified. That's not an argument. But what he's doing is he knows that everyone else in the audience is going to be like, oh, he's talking to an unqualified person, so we don't have to take him seriously. That's the point.
Tell me how they're different. What modalities are you talking about? Possibilities, impossibilities?
Yeah, you don't have to, but that's an appeal to authority. I don't need to be qualified to say something true.
What modalities are you talking about?
Modalities are different.
And you agree with that?
Yeah. Give me
So
examples.
you can give, for example, the narrowly minded like modal logic. You could have the
What modal collapse
you can have.
What do you mean by
I don't know
modal
what
collapse?
hijab is
What do you
doing.
mean by modal collapse? Can you explain it to me?
First of all, I asked you the first
No, I
question.
want to ask you.
that
What do you mean by modal
I know
collapse?
modal collapse.
Why does the burden keep shifting?
Why is the burden keep shifting?
No, I don't know what it means.
The burden should not be shifting.
What is modal? What do you mean by modal collapse?
You need to show me
What do you mean by modal collapse?
A modal collapse is where the modal predicates of some modal.
Like what? Give me an example of which one.
So let's say, for example, necessity, contingency,
which I just mentioned. I just mentioned those.
the result.
It just mentioned those.
You don't, please.
Yeah, it just mentioned those.
Let him finish, please. Yeah.
What happens is in a modal collapse, one of the modal properties and one of the modal predicates collapses into all things.
You're making this. Show me how. No, let him go.
He's giving a definition. He's He's giving a definition.
Stop speaking. No,
That's not a proof. That's a definition.
You're asking me for proof. I'm asking you
That's not a proof. That's a definition. What are you talking about?
Why can't we talk?
Because he said prove the definition. Because he said no. Because he said prove the definition.
You're both coming in. He's coming in.
He's doing exactly.
Yeah. But wait, no. But he said no. But he said prove it. No. Because he said prove
You're
it.
both coming in. You're
Yeah, but no. Because he said no. When did I disrespect you?
But you're both coming in as 2-on-1. He came in. He said,
So how is that disrespectful?
No, but he's coming in.
You said I was disrespectful. How was I?
He's coming in.
I never disrespected. We're saying how was I disrespectful?
All I'm saying is that he's coming in.
Okay, great. But how was I disrespectful?
Why are we
Because
going
you're both coming in and talking over each other.
So how was I disrespectful towards you? I didn't show disrespect towards you.
That modality is modal predicates. You're wrong about that.
No, I'm not
You're
saying
wrong
that.
about that.
I said that. No.
I asked you what modality is.
What is modality?
Modality.
What is it?
Modality are different views in which you can say something is or is not possible. Now look, there are going to be loads of different ways.
How's that going to be expressed? Give me an example of modality.
So look,
go.
you can use
Unicorns
David
exist.
Lewis's modality, for example.
Say again?
David Lewis's modality. And he's going to say, for example, David Lewis.
Yes,
the model realist.
yeah. Big
So
yeah.
he's going to say, for example, that all possible worlds are actually existing
Yes, okay.
at the same time.
No, but that's
And he's
modal
gonna-
realism.
Hold on.
That's
I know.
modal realism.
And under, and
No, you're wrong, by the way.
hold on. And
He's
under,
giving one type of
and
modality.
under,
It's possibly a modality.
and yes, no, that's modal predicate.
So what? So what are you saying?
We
Modal collapse?
predicate-
When you say modal collapse, what do you mean?
A modal collapse is where we have a modal system
Yes.
and it collapses into
How?
one modal.
Give me an
predicate.
example how. Give me an example.
So your argument.
No, give me an example.
Your argument.
Show me how.
Your argument.
Show me how.
So your
What's
argument.
working out?
Okay, that's what
Use
I
it.
was
Use
asking.
it with the existence of
Show me how.
possible. So like all possible worlds collapse into one.
Let him say it.
So look, let's say for example we have a possible world in which let's say we have a necessary being, and a necessary being has an essential property about it. Let's
Necessity.
say let's say
Yeah, fine.
necessity.
Yeah.
Now whatever the essential property about the necessary being
Yep.
explains is going to entail what it explains. That's called the distribution axiom. So
But that's not the argument.
hold on.
That's not the argument.
Oh my! You asked me to give me an example. I'm giving you an
Yeah,
example.
but that's not how I'm
Hold
articulating the
on.
argument.
You asked me to give an example. I'm
Yeah, but
giving
that's not how I
you.
articulate
You've
the
asked me
argument.
to give you an example.
Oh,
I'm giving you an
excellent. So
example.
tell me how that applies to my argument.
So the reason why I pass your argument.
Yeah, go on
is
now.
because
Now this way. Yeah.
You believe
Yeah.
in an agency.
I didn't say that in an argument.
It doesn't matter.
never said that.
No, but that's you're talking about my beliefs. You're talking about my beliefs. You're talking about my beliefs.
He's saying
The
that
argument
you
is.
interpret.
Hold on.
Okay.
So tell me how that applies to my argument. Go.
Okay.
Test the waters. Test the waters.
Just repeating
waters.
test the wars doesn't mean anything.
Test the waters. Test the waters. Test the waters. Go.
I'm not scared to.
Go. Test it. Test it. Test the waters.
Your argument is fallacious.
Tell me how.
At its core.
How?
Look, is there a sufficient reason as to why you're
You're
postulating?
asking me questions. You're asking me questions now. Tell me now. Why is it
This is
fallacious?
why I'm testing you.
Test the waters now. Tell me why it's
ask
wrong.
you a question
Test the waters.
to show how you
Test the waters.
show how you're an argument.
Tell me why is the modal collapse? Why is it modal collapse?
Because
Tell
it's
me
going
now.
to collapse into a view.
What's my
called
argument? What's my argument?
necessitarianism.
What's my argument?
Your first.
What's
So
my-
you made a posture.
Wait, hold on.
You made a posture.
Necessitarianism is not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
Okay, so you understand that necessitarianism means, and in all possible worlds,
Yeah.
God had to have created the world.
Yeah, it's not incoherent. It's not logically incoherent.
No, hold on.
It's not logically incoherent, is it?
To your view. To
Okay,
your
excuse-
view.
how is it contradictory?
To your view.
How is it contradictory?
Because God has free will.
I don't believe.
God has
Hold
free
on.
will.
I don't believe necessarily. I'm saying how
Does God have free
No,
will?
now you're going
Does God have
theology.
free will?
I'm saying
Does God
philosophy.
have free will?
That's theology.
Does God have
That's
free will?
theology.
God does
That's
God have free
theology.
will?
That's theology. I'm saying
This is an entailment of your view.
That's theology. You're going to religion.
This is
You're
an
going to
entailment of
religion.
your view that you're going to reject.
I don't care.
I don't
care about the rejection, then that doesn't mean anything.
Hold on.
Not even engaging my
Test the waters. My postulation was as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things
The
exist.
reason why
is it wrong?
Because
Why?
it entails
Why?
a modal collapse
How?
of necessity.
How?
Because in the argument,
Yeah?
the thing that's going to sufficiently explain
Yeah.
the contingent fact,
Go ahead.
right, is going to explain it either in virtue of an essential feature or a contingent feature. If it's a contingent feature, it's going to rely
in virtue of what?
something
In virtue of what?
In virtue of an essential feature
Essential feature of what?
or a contingent feature
Essential feature of what?
of the explanation.
What do you mean? How? Give me an example of that.
So, explanandum. So look, you're going to say now there's going to be sufficient reason that is going to explain the reason why the postulation. Now look, either it's very simple and it's contrastive. Either the thing is true or the thing is not true. You're saying the thing is true. Look, hold on.
You're saying it's not true, so why is it not true? You're saying it's not true, why is it not true?
I haven't said it's not true. I
You're
said,
trying to pick out certain
Can you
words
stop?
that he's using. Let him finish the
Tell me why
argument.
it's wrong.
Listen, you need to
Tell me
listen.
why it's
Calm
wrong.
down.
You gotta let him finish the argument. Man. We can say the same thing about you. We can say the same thing about you as well. And we can look around and do words as well. It doesn't mean
Look, I
anything.
don't care, bro.
That's fine, but he's making an argument.
Central feature or is it contingent feature? If it's contingent,
No, I was already
we
in.
already agreed
I was
it's
already
not going
in.
to sufficiently
Same way you're
explain the reason as
It's
to
alright,
why
man.
it
Look, you can just say.
because
So telling me to shut up. It's not calm. It's alright, man. Stay calm. Stay calm. Look, it's fine. Look.
Stop butting in, bro. You're a
Relax.
Christian.
Relax,
You're a
man.
Christian.
It doesn't
You should be on
matter.
our side.
I'm
Yeah, so
not
let them
loud,
talk.
man.
Stop butting in. Stop
Calm
butting in.
down.
Let him say something, I don't care. Let him help him. Let him help him.
You can call me a joker. It doesn't
They're
matter,
an
bro.
atheist against a Muslim.
This
is the hatred.
a bad argument.
Because the argument itself is false.
But the argument's a bad argument, so it doesn't matter who.
You and your bad argument, but boss, you don't rinse my subordinate now.
Tell me
You
now.
don't rinse, bro.
You didn't even understand half the conversation.
You don't even know what you have no idea what logic is. How can you make claims you don't
Learn a
know
lesson.
about?
Wait, you don't even understand half of the conversation.
What's modality? What's modal logic? Name me one modal
Can I say
system.
I know?
Name me one modal
I don't
system.
know.
So how can you say that you don't read if you don't understand the context?
As if you know modal
He's
system.
running
But you don't understand all the stuff that he was saying.
No one's running away. No one's running away.
He was running away, bro.
I just don't like the fact that he's saying he knows more things about people that obviously know more.
Who cares, bro?
It doesn't matter.
Who cares? You don't like that? Who
It
cares?
doesn't
You what you like?
matter.
Look, I'll ask you a question.
Look,
The postulation.
look,
Excuse me.
You asked me to finish my argument.
No,
I can
let
finish
me
my
just say one
argument.
thing, then you can say.
You're gonna be speaking?
Let me say one thing. You can say what you want. Let me say one
Is
thing.
it
and
gonna be
then you
important to the debate?
Can I say one thing?
Is it gonna be important?
Can I say one thing? And then
You can, if it's gonna
We'll
be
take 10 seconds.
Go ahead.
My postulation is
That's
that there
crazy.
cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Is there
You said that-
sufficient
excuse
reason
me,
as to-
excuse me.
No,
You
he's saying
said-
there's none.
You said
there is.
that's
Just
there
design
is
the PSR.
You
Yeah.
said you said
design
that.
the PSR.
Am I gonna speak?
Go ahead.
Am I gonna speak?
ahead.
You said that's wrong. Why is it wrong?
I didn't say this wrong.
You said it's modal collapse. Why is it modal collapse?
Okay, now you're correct. Now you said what I said. I said it tells a modal collapse.
said you disagree.
Never said
You
it's
said-
wrong.
you did say you disagree.
I said
Go
I
on.
disagree with the argument
Yeah, go
because
on.
you're employing what's
So
called
why
a
is it modal
strong
collapse? Why is it
version of
modal
the
collapse?
You let me finish?
Yeah, he's saying it's because there is a version of the PSR you're using.
Look, the weak.
Show me how.
Show me how you're using a version of the PSR.
Show me why it collapses. Why is the modal collapse? Why?
Yeah.
Let him say
It's called
thing.
religious language.
Why
You
is there
can say that.
why is there modal collapse? Let him say why is
I can say
modal collapse.
blessed.
Let him say why is there modal collapse. He's trying to run from it. Why is there modal collapse? Why is there modal collapse? We talked about modalities. You said I don't know what modalities are. Then you talk about what is it, David Lewis's modal realism. I've read his books. I know he died in 1965 or whatever.
That's a great fact. You know when he died.
I know he's acclaimed as one of the leading philosophers. of the
Let me
20th
make
century.
this very clear.
Excuse me. I've read his stuff. I know what he's talking about. I understand the distinction between what you call possible worlds, instrumentalism and realism, and what his position is. I know what he's talking about.
Listen, I'm not talking about David Lewis's
I know,
version.
but you mentioned it. But so I'm just
But
saying.
he's not.
I know.
specifically.
But excuse me.
About an example
All I'm
of
saying.
what a particular model system-
I'm asking you a question now.
Yeah.
You made a claim, bro. Your claim
You've made a
You
claim.
made the
I know I did.
You made
I
a
know
claim.
I did, but I'm asking you to prove this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to explain
You
it
said
to
this.
you,
I
and
said.
you're not trying to let me speak.
Let me. You said it entails my argument, that the postulation that there cannot be a state of affairs where all dependent. There cannot be a state of affairs where all dependent things exist. You said this argument entails modal collapse. How?
Because it presupposes.
It doesn't use the language of modality.
It doesn't matter. You're presupposing the strong
Bro,
version
honestly,
of the PSR.
you're wasting my time.
If you're not well read on the contingency argument, that's just not my
Brother,
fault.
I'm doing a PhD on it, man.
That's not my
Doesn't mean that you
fault.
I went to Oxford. I got my phone from it, bro. Do you want to
Wait,
see
wait,
something?
no. You did a postgrad at Oxford. You're not an undergrad.
I got a postgrad in Oxford.
Yeah, you did a
Don't
postgrad.
tell me I'm not qualified, bro. You
Brother,
guys
you
haven't even got a
did.
degree,
Look,
man.
brother, anyone can get. Anyone can get a postgrad at Oxford.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I will.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I will in 3 years. I will in 3 years. Yes. I will in 3
You're
years.
talking to me like I'm your younger, bro.
I'm gonna do a postgrad in Oxford in 3 years. It's fine. That's not an issue.
Speak to me with
How can
respect.
you-
Speak to me with respect. Remember one thing. I've been peer reviewed.
That does not matter in any sense whatsoever.
Qualified.
You're a lay person.
Not
You can't make
qualified.
this up. I'm strong. I'm strong.
It doesn't matter if you're qualified. It doesn't matter if you're qualified. You're telling me I'm dumb.
Because what he's saying is wrong.
This is how strong his power is.
Ask me a question. I'm saying modal collapse.
That's not an argument, Ali. That's not an argument.
Ask a
though.
question. Ask a question. My question is, why is the modal collapse?
You guys are jokers, man.
Why is the modal collapse?
Just walk
Do you
specifically.
affirm the strong?
Why is the modal collapse?
I'm
Answer the
gonna-
question,
The
man.
Go
reason
through
why.
both the strong and the weak.
The
and then-
reason why.
Why is the modal collapse?
Because it ain't
Why is the modal collapse?
I will explain
Do you
it.
know why?
Do I know why?
Why is the modal collapse?
Yeah, I think
Why
I
is
can go
my
through it.
argument? Why does it entail a modal collapse?
This is about to collapse.
So,
That's
yeah.
why.
Let me explain.
It's about to
My argument is I'm not even using the language of modality. That's how bad it is. I'm not using the word possibility.
You said cannot.
You said cannot. You're saying it's something that cannot occur.
So that means you're saying it's impossible.
So you're saying it's impossible.
That's modal language. You're using modal language.
Okay. I said I'm not saying
you're presupposing the modality.
So you're using modal language. So what you're saying before was wrong.
No, I'm not using modal language.
Cannot is impossibility. That's modal language.
Yes, it is.
What does cannot mean?
What does cannot mean?
No, let me explain then.
Yeah. What does cannot mean?
Cannot mean. There's two kinds of impossibility.
Right, let him do it. Let him do it.
Act like this unless you're losing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Brother, there's no winning or losing. What you're saying is wrong. Continue.
Okay, brother, you're not in a position to judge that. You're underqualified. You're not even done a degree.
No. Anyone that can think has a position to judge.
Excuse me, my friend.
That is so wrong. Your opinion is wrong. Any individual, thank you. Any individual that can think can have an opinion on this argument. Any individual that can think can have an opinion on this argument.
I can explain it to you. I'm an atheist. I can explain it to you.
An atheist
Because I've read
I don't want to be a pedant here. I didn't say that my argument doesn't entail modalities. I didn't say that. That you'd be right if you said, well, it cannot. In your specific argument, it entails an impossibility. I'm not saying that. I didn't use the language of
that's fine.
No,
and what was my response?
Yeah,
if you listen to me, you have my response.
Fine. What I'm saying to you is this. Fine. I'll accept for the sake of to move forward with this thing. I'm going to say to you, I'm saying it's impossible. For the sake of argument. I am saying, yes. I'm going to now use the language of modality. I'm going to use the language of modality to help the situation.
Now,
no problem.
What type of modality are you using?
Let me say.
I don't know what
let me say. Let me say.
Go
I'm saying it's impossible for there to be a state of affairs where only independent things exist. Impossibility, the opposite of it is necessity. So obviously, the kind of excuse me, man. The kind of modality that I'm using is a negative necessity. I am using that, and that is in the tables and the grids of modal logic. So I'm asking you the question now. Can you disprove that and show me how it works? Okay. Disprove it, man. Test the waters.
Within any axiom of any modal system, you're going to have like 3 of the first modal axioms. Okay, you're going to have the K system. You're going to have the T system, you have the M system.
Why does it lead to modal collapse?
The reason why it leads to the modal collapse is because within the K system, there's going to be something called the distribution axiom.
Okay.
Whereby if you have A...
What's A in this situation?
A would be, for example, the sufficient reason as to why B obtains.
So what, give me, in my argument, how that
your argument, your conclusion of your argument is I know you're a theist. And
No, don't say I know you're a theist.
So you're not a theist?
No, it doesn't matter what I am. It doesn't matter.
The reason why
The well has already been poisoned.
Sorry,
He invoked my belief.
It doesn't matter.
Then tell him to leave.
No, leave him as he is.
No. You're allowing people to poison the well in the audience. You also have a qualification. You shouldn't go around people's beliefs or qualifications either.
The argument is,
why is it wrong?
The sufficient reason is going to entail the fact.
What's the sufficient reason in this situation?
Well, look, in your particular case, it's going to be God.
I didn't mention the word God once.
I
didn't use the word God
You're
once.
being disingenuous. Is it or isn't it?
No, I'm not being disingenuous.
Of course you're being disingenuous.
I didn't use the word God.
You don't have to
use the word God. I didn't use the word God.
Wait, hold on. Okay. Is there a sufficient reason for why that contingent fact obtains?
What contingent fact? I didn't use the word contingency in my articulation.
Do you know what contingent fact is?
Yes, I do know.
Tell me.
Okay, contingency can be defined in different ways. I'm not going to go to the history of it.
A contingent fact.
No.
What's a contingent fact?
I don't need to tell you.
You just said you were
telling me. I'll tell you what. Do you want to know? You want to know?
Unqualified.
Go get my book Burhan, which has been peer reviewed in Oxford University, and read it.
Great, then just quote from the book.
Signed by me.
Quote from the book. Quote from the book.
I have a whole chapter talking about contingency.
There are terms that you are using in the argument that you haven't clarified.
You're going to deny
Test the waters.
What's the logic?
Test the waters. I don't know. Test the waters.
Because sufficient reasons.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Necessary reasons.
What's necessary reasons?
Necessary reasons.
Which ones are those?
Look, either the sufficient
Which
reasons.
ones are those?
Either.
Which ones?
Either.
Which ones are those?
Either.
Which one?
Either.
Which one?
Which ones are those?
He's
Which ones are
explaining,
those?
meaning either. So he's giving actual reasons. He's giving actual reasons.
It's going to be.
So I'm not going to touch it. Don't worry. So when he says sufficient reasons, he's saying either this sufficient reason or this sufficient
already
reasons.
accepted the
He's actually
PSR.
giving you sufficient reasons.
What sufficient
You're
reasons
talking
are you
about
talking about?
Let me get the argument. Let me get the argument.
Opaque context.
I don't even know what you're
Opaque
speaking about because you haven't given me a
Opaque
definition of
context.
modality.
Opaque relation.
Opaque
Opaque
You can
relation.
ask
Opaque
contrasting
relation.
exposure.
How many people come to
No,
this?
you're exposed.
Opaque relation.
You don't even know the way you have no religion in the guy now.
Opaque relation.
Because people are coming to Islam.
Doesn't mean that you're the one that's being
I don't know
emotional.
the
You're the one that's being emotional.
I know the difference.
You're literally the one trying to start to me.
I'm disappointed that I see
You're not disappointed. You're literally hurt. You're literally hurt. You're saying that what you're saying is wrong. If a Muslim says that 2 plus 2 equals 5,
Why is it right?
if a Muslim says that 2 plus 2 equals 5, then I would support the person that does not believe that. That's fine. If a Muslim says 2 plus 2 equals 5, then say in conclusion that 2 plus 2 equals 5, that individual is wrong. So it doesn't actually matter anything what I'm saying as well as your religious affiliation. I'm not actually shook about anything. Again, it doesn't actually matter the religious affiliation.
He's given up.
You said you've given up. You're running away.
He's given up. He's given up.
Wait, what, did he say that he's given up?
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
Are you going to answer my question?
I'm answering your question. I'm
Are
asking
you asking my
you.
question?
Why is it
When
wrong?
I say it's wrong, why does it entail modal collapse?
Why does it entail modal collapse?
Now, look. Why? Yeah, because I can ask a contrastive question.
Which is?
Why is it the case that it obtains rather than it does not?
What do you mean? What is it?
Oh my God! Your postulate.
What's my postulate?
Your postulate.
What's my postulate?
He just wants you to repeat.
What's my postulate?
I'm probably going to misphrase.
He said repeat the postulate again. So you're talking with confidence. You don't even know
No,
what I'm talking about.
he can't. What he's saying is that every time he says it, you're just going to say it, or you're going to use another word.
Every time I
That's fine. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. It's fine. The same way that you're speaking with him, I'm speaking with him as well. That's fine. It's okay. You're here. No. I was here already, and that's fine. He's saying that there are certain postulates that will obtain. The postulate that he's saying, is literally the fact that there cannot be a state of affairs which only the tendency exists. Now you're saying that there is no sufficient reason why. There's no sufficient statement, and the words are going over your head, right? And that's okay.
Really, I'm
Yeah, the words are okay. That's fine. That's a really good
What do I need to do?
Well, then let's ask a question.
What do I need to do,
Let's ask a
brother?
question. Let's ask a question. First of all, you don't even know a modal collapse is.
not an
Okay.
You don't even know a modal collapse
Okay, why is it modal collapse?
You don't even know
Why
what
is
it
it
is.
modal collapse?
Wait,
Why is it modal
how
collapse?
can I tell you what it is if you don't know what it is?
Why?
What's a modal collapse?
Why is it modal
What is a
collapse?
modal collapse?
You are a model collapse. You are a model
How old
collapse.
are you?
No, he's not. He's necessity.
Man.
Oh my God, that's the I understand the joke, but it's not. It doesn't make.
Yeah, go.
Essentially, he's trying to say that there's only one possible world.
Teach me like I'm ignoramus. Go ahead. Teach me like I'm ignoramus. Teach me like I'm him. Go ahead. Teach me like. Tell me what you mean by modal collapse. Tell me why collapse.
I've actually really explained to you what modal collapse
Go
is.
say again.
But you're
the one using the word.
But you're qualified. But you're qualified.
Use the word.
You're big Muhammad
Use the
Hijab.
word.
You're big Muhammad
Use the
Hijab.
word.
You're the qualified.
Why is it modal collapse?
Before the atheists all the time.
Okay.
I've literally heard you say, give
Why
it
is it
enough
modal
preparation. Because you can look.
You need preparation.
No.
Came 1 year later. Say it, man. You need preparation.
When
Give
was
it
he
enough
last year?
preparation. You can
And then he went with
any
the
atheist. Any atheist. You're struggling to fold little old me.
Why is it modal collapse?
Big Muhammad Hijab.
Why is it modal collapse?
He's saying your contingency argument will entail modal collapse. Listen, your contingency argument entails modal collapse. You're saying you're a joke.
Sufficient reasons.
You said that I ran away. You said I ran away. You ran away from me. 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 You literally ran away from me. Ali, we have a recording. You ran away from me. You ran away from me. I'm not accepting. There is literally no fear. If a Muslim says 2 plus 2 is 5, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim. If an atheist says
1
that,
plus 1
then
plus
that
1 is
means
1.
I'm wrong.
1 plus 1 is 1 is 1.
No one's saying that. No one's saying that. Ali, we all know that no one's saying that, Ali. Right, because opaque relations exist. Opaque context exists. Ali, do you know what an opaque context is? Ali, do you know what an opaque context is? Ali, do you know what an opaque context is? Yeah, because they don't know what an opaque context is. They don't know what an opaque context is. You don't know what an opaque context is. We just had an argument with Mansour about opaque context. Again, Ali, do you know what opaque contexts are? Ali, do you know what opaque contexts are? Do you know what they are? Do you know what they are?
Now you've qualified.
Answer the question. Do you know what they
Now
are?
you've qualified.
An opaque context. Do you know what they are? Sky will tell you the same thing. Do you know what an opaque relation is? It's okay. So the fact that you can't answer that question means that you shouldn't be speaking about something. And now you're going to try and speak about something else. It's okay.
But I'm answering your question. I'm saying, I didn't say anything about causality.
Okay, cool.
move
For
back,
any
everyone move back.
per se
Because I was here already.
last chain, is there going to be one or more than one thing that explains those things, that explains those chains? That's my question.
So at the end of it, what's the entailment of the argument?
Hold on, first, I think I'm going too far. Do you know the distinction between per se and per excellence?
Listen, now you're asking me a trivial question.
Okay, so you don't know.
respect.
So you don't know.
If you want to go back to my
How can you speak about the contingency argument if you don't know these basic things like per se and per
I
excellence?
spoke to you 1.5 years ago.
Do me a favor.
I folded you. I folded you.
Ali,
He folded you. I told you. You have nothing. Yes, and I couldn't even speak to you because you didn't know what we were talking about. You don't even know this is cardinality. What's supposed to last week?
Let him say his thing.
You have no idea what you're speaking about.
I'm trying to get your argument.
Teacher, let me speak to your teacher. Let me speak to your teacher. Let me speak to your teacher. Teacher knows more.
Who's my teacher?
So let me speak to you.
He's teaching me a lesson.
I beg you to do me a favor.
You're the new student. You're the new student.
No one's been doing
We don't like you in class. We don't like you in class. We get chatting crap.
How old are you?
Bro, give me a
Can you tell him to like stop?
Yeah, be quiet,
Can you tell him to stop?
Okay, instead of asking me trivial questions and pop questions,
No,
I want to know your
questions.
I want to know your
Because I need to know that you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, no problem.
If you don't know what I'm saying, I have to explain things all over again. But look,
Like I'm an ignoramus.
so you're the unqualified one in this innocence, right?
No, I'm not, because objectively I've got degrees.
You should know this.
Objectively I've got
If you-
degrees.
Look, if you have
So,
studied, look,
objectively,
if you haven't even gone to university,
Good, so tell
you
me
don't
now.
even know the distinction
So
between
now,
person
are you
and
attacking me or the argument?
I'm not. No, I'm not attacking you. I'm
So
attacking
go with the argument. Go with the argument.
You're the one that's saying.
Okay, so go with the argument now, please.
Okay.
Test the waters, please. Go on.
I've tested like 20 times.
No, you haven't done it properly.
Look,
I want to know your argument, please.
is there a sufficient reason that explains why the postulate does obtain rather than it does not?
What postulate?
The postulate you just said.
What's my postulate?
Your postulate.
Say it.
I'm not going to rephrase it again because you're going to do
No,
some
no, because
sophistic rhetoric.
No.
Oh, you can't even say exactly how I said it.
No.
I'm not going to elaborate.
No, because you're saying the
No one is convinced of your rhetoric.
Listen,
Let's talk
I'll
about
do
the
me a favor.
arguments.
Okay,
Okay,
my
and your
argument
argument
is-
is not good.
Okay, tell me why.
I've told you why.
Why you said it's
I'll
wrong.
say to you one more time.
Okay, yeah,
Is
why?
there
Why?
a sufficient reason
Yeah,
as to why your postulate obtains rather than it does not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, now
you're using PSR.
So now you're using a strong version of the PSR. I hope you know that.
No, hold on.
I hope you know that. Everyone, you're using the strong
Okay, fine.
version
Let's go,
of the
let's go,
PSR.
let's go.
Now, do you know what that entails?
Yes, I do know.
What does it entail?
You're saying it entails moral collapse.
What is it? No.
Explain me how.
What does it entail?
It entails the affirmation of my premise.
Oh
my opinion.
God, bro, what is this?
It entails the affirmation of
Supposed to
my
be
premise.
big.
Tell me why it's wrong.
Is this the best you have?
It
Tell me why it's
entails
wrong.
the fact that you set a premise. Is that what you're saying? You're saying
What?
the affirmation. Or
No,
you saying
all
that
I-
it shows
Affirmation
the premise?
entails. What are you
No,
saying?
I think by affirmation it just means it entails that my premise is correct.
That's right.
So
but that doesn't mean.
wait. So it's just analytics. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that
You're
it
saying
entails
that's
my
analytically
premise.
Wait. So are you just throwing out analytic statements? Is that what you're doing?
Can you tell me
I could
why?
throw out analytic statement right now.
By the way,
I could just postulate something right now.
I'm trying to be sincere with you. I'm listening to
Because
you
you
very
don't even know
carefully.
what you're saying right now.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, good.
If you could
Maybe I
just
can
throw
try.
out analytic. Go ahead. Let me see.
Okay.
That's an opinion.
So I'm not an analyst.
I want to know, with all due respect, why you said it entails moral collapse. So I'm trying to understand that.
So we have agreed.
Can I write it down for you?
Go right down.
Yeah.
Get your notebook out.
I'll get my notebook out.
Take some
Yeah.
notes. Come, look.
Actually, I'm not gonna do that because you said it like that.
I mean, the notebook is there, so he'll do it probably after.
No, I want to treat you with respect right now.
Yeah.
I want to see if your argument actually holds the scrutiny. So tell me now.
Look,
You said,
I can provide you an actual academic argument. I can get it up on my phone right now and give you the whole argument.
No, I want to hear this.
Yeah.
You're saying,
I'm going to give you like maybe like a slightly
your name
longer
again?
version. Rico.
Rico, listen. I have a postulate. My postulate is there cannot be a state of
You know
affairs.
what? I'm going to do it like this. Go on, carry on talking. I'm just going to get out my actual argument on my phone. I'm going to read you the whole argument. I'm going to show you why it doesn't, why it entails it. Okay?
But my argument is as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Now, you're saying that entails modal collapse. Now, what do you mean by modalities? My understanding of modalities, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that you've got things like possibility, impossibility, necessity. These are the modalities that I think. When you talk about modalities, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I understand by modalities. You say possibility is a modality.
Oh, look, that's a modal predicate.
No, no problem. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
When I write papers, when I read them, that's how I understand the word modality. Modal realism, modal instrumentalism, that's how I understand it. You're saying, no, it's something else. No problem. You tell me what you mean by modality.
just move the tripod
You
a
tell
bit
me what
that
you
way
mean
so
by
I can get my leg
modality.
through, please.
You tell me what you mean by modal collapse.
me just-
And you tell me what you mean by this.
Sorry.
I'll give you all the ones that I've written down.
Yeah, it's just
I've
my
got the
foot.
SCP.
Do you mind? Do you see what I've just asked you to do? Because right now we're talking.
I can even give you my definition of what I mean by possible.
Alright, so
and impossible.
start with the first one, so that I know.
So what do you want? Do you want my definition of impossible?
What's modality? What is modality?
So look, I'll read it out to you.
Yeah.
So, give me a second.
What is modality?
It's just to ask exactly what we mean by something being necessary or possible or contingent.
So that's what I was just saying, right?
Okay.
So
now,
the modalities are possibility,
now, hold
necessity,
on.
impossibility.
Now,
You're giving synonyms
now look,
that will describe
They're
it.
not synonyms.
Now look.
no,
What we
synonyms are
mean.
like-
Hold on. No.
Well, when I say such,
now, what we mean by
please.
modality is going to be entailed by a particular view in modal logic that we have.
No problem.
Now, I'll give you some examples.
Okay, no,
you
no,
have
no.
modal realism. You have modal fictionalism, and you have modal
Combinationalism.
combinationalism.
Yeah.
Those are three different modalities.
No, but hold on.
Now, hold on.
Yeah, fine.
Hold on. Now, given that they are different modalities,
No, but
hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Different modalities
Different
apply in different
modalities
ways.
are
So
going
these
to
are
apply in
more
different ways.
frameworks.
Now, let me give you
They are
one.
frameworks, but those
Let me give you
frameworks
one.
will apply in
So
different
the
ways. So you don't know which
Aristotelian,
framework you use.
causal kind of modality, they're going to say for a non-actual state of affairs S is possible either if S is actual or if something exists with causal power bringing about S. That's going to be an entailment of what they mean when they say possible or necessary. That's going to be their modality.
fine.
Now, when I ask you for your modality,
yeah.
you have to give me your system
No,
so I can understand what you're saying. Now, if you don't have a modality,
You're talking.
Hold on.
Let this be a conversation. Let this be a conversation.
I know.
Let this be a
But I'm gonna
conversation.
let me just say one
Let
more
this
thing.
be a
I'm going to
conversation.
give you what I mean when I say possible. Okay?
You ask a question and you answer. Same
I'm
He
gonna-
hasn't
I
finished
haven't
his
finished
statement.
my
He gets to finish his statement, but he
You
doesn't.
asked
I
me-
don't.
You asked me three questions.
You
Okay?
do.
No. I
I'm
want the
gonna-
first question. So what is what? Can you say in a sentence? What is modality?
Modality is what we mean and
Yeah.
what is going to be entailed by a particular view that we hold in a modal framework.
Give me an example.
Modal realism. Modal
Okay, so
fictionalism.
that's where the cross purpose is happening. Good that we done this, yeah? Because when you say modality for me, I'm thinking, does he mean possibility, necessity, impossibility?
So those things are going to be.
Fine, these are modalities.
They're going
They're going to be defined in
Right?
different
No,
ways.
hold
But
on,
they're
that's
going
how I
to be.
understand
they're
it,
gonna-
though.
I understand. But I'm saying in
you understand
in
it?
terms of the literature.
No, the
right?
literature, that's how they use it, bro. They
In
say
terms of the
modality.
literature,
They
I
use it like
understand.
this.
has
But
a
look,
certain
there's going
way
to
of
be
using it,
nuance.
yeah.
You have to understand. Like when we read philosophy,
Okay,
there's
whatever,
nuance.
but that's how I read it. In English
Possibility,
language.
necessity, contingency, and dependency. These things
Are
are
these
modal predicates.
No, but they also
They
use
are
modalities.
predicates.
I've read it as modalities.
They are predicates.
Bro, I'm
They
telling
are
you.
reading it
modalities
as a-
insofar as they make.
No,
They are modalities insofar as they are made
fine.
intelligible by a framework.
Fine.
We need to get specific.
So they're
here.
not modalities in
So they're not
themselves, they need a
modalities in
framework. They need a
themselves.
framework
They are
to use.
predicates
Can we-
that are
Bro,
put
can you just
onto
allow
things.
me
So
to-
let me
I'm
explain
just
to you.
Allow me to come back. Why are you getting frustrated
Because
for?
it's just because you're supposed to be like the person that has
Stop saying you're supposed to be.
So it's just really hard.
I'm
'Cause
asking you.
When I talk to people that don't have
Stop
qualifications, okay, go ahead.
Do me a favor.
Go ahead.
Me and you are talking cross purposes. If you want to advance the conversation, then we need to know what we're talking about. What I say when I say this, what you say when you say this.
Yeah, he's
You're
saying that
saying,
you need
okay,
a
so
framework.
good. The frameworks, modal realism,
Yeah.
and for example, anti-realism, whatever you want to call it, different terms for it, yeah? That I understand as frameworks, they're different frameworks. You're saying, no, these are modalities. Okay, if you want to call them that, I've not read them as that, no problem, whatever, I don't care, yeah? But I understand that's what you mean by that. When you say modal collapse, are you talking about realism and anti-realism now?
No,
okay.
nowhere near
Okay, good, okay, so good. So when you say modal collapse, what do you mean by that?
So
if you don't
remember,
mind?
in a modality, we have possibility, we have necessity, we have
impossibility.
contingency, and we have impossibility.
Yeah, you got four.
Now, in a modal collapse, what occurs is that in a world, in a possible world, or in all possible worlds,
Sorry, in a possible world,
in
or?
a possible world, or in all possible worlds,
Yes.
the modal predicates collapse into one modal predicate.
Which would be necessity.
Now it's necessitarianism.
Which could be necessity, it
Yeah.
could be contingency,
Fine,
it could
fine.
be
It could be
possibility
impossibility.
or impossibility.
All right, yeah.
That is what a modal collapse is.
Okay,
Now,
so
the
why
specific
is-
argument
Why is
that
that
we're
wrong?
presenting.
Why is that incoherent?
Now, hold on, it's incoherent to a view that you hold, and
So
also.
depending on the view, it's going
No,
to
no,
be
hold on,
like
hold on.
incompatible.
No, but hold on.
It's going to be
let me explain
incompatible
something.
with particular strong intuitions we have about the nature of reality also. Now,
Say that
I
again.
can explain those things
Say that
further.
again.
It's going to be incoherent with really strong intuitions that we have about the nature of reality also. So even though, for example, like necessitarianism is going to be entailed by a modal collapse, by a strong PSR, it's going to be incompatible with the intuitions
Okay,
about
I think
about
I
unitary
understand what
free
you're
will.
saying. Bro, I think I understand it.
Now,
Can I repeat what you're saying? Can I just, so I know what you're saying.
do it. I'm going to give you my whole.
Bro, can I just say, bro, please, I beg you, I want to understand what you're saying, bro.
Go.
It's what you're saying effectively tantamount to the following. If you have a necessary being in one possible world, you have a necessary being in all possible worlds.
That's true.
That's true.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
But he's
I don't-
gonna say-
No, hold on, excuse me. That is the ontological argument. look, excuse me. I'm saying to you, I agree with that. If that's what you're saying, perfect. Now we've got somewhere, bro. But I beg you. Look, we started off by saying the following. There cannot be a world. There cannot be a state
There
of
cannot
affairs.
be a state of affairs where everything that exists in the world is contingent.
No, not contingent. Only dependent.
Dependent.
Yeah,
Only
right.
dependent exists.
No, hold on.
Can I just ask you one question?
Please.
Is there a distinction between
Please, allow
contingent and dependent?
it. Now, what you said is that when you say modal collapse, now that you've identified what you mean by modal collapse, I actually don't even disagree with you. If there is a necessary being in a possible world, then there is a necessary being in all
In
possible
all
worlds.
possibles, we agree. Now,
Fine.
the question
That's what you
is,
mean by it.
hold on, no,
Why-
no,
that's
okay,
not-
now my question is, excuse me, let me just, now that we agree now, effectively we agree, brother. We agree now.
yeah,
Hold on,
yeah,
no.
I'm not granting that there is a necessary being.
I know.
I'm just
Whatever.
saying, given that there would be one,
yeah.
it would remain true in all possible worlds.
I know that. That is the ontological argument. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I'm sure, I'm completely aware of that. You've added the
Yeah,
reverse
okay,
ontological
good.
argument?
Cool.
Doesn't work. The ontological argument is horrible.
I'm not sure if you're aware of that. You said you are.
Even
That's
Anselm
fine.
just used it as a
That's
him.
enough for me. I take your word for it. Tell me why that contradicts my premise. Why? Now that's where the fight is.
Okay, now
That's what the fight is.
remember what the contingency argument is.
I know
the
what it is.
contingency argument is an attempt to reason from the fact that contingent objects are unexplained to that something that's not contingent explains them. Now look, if it's the case that necessitarianism is true and a modal collapse follows from that,
Then all those
then
contingent
all
objects have
contingent
to
predicates become necessary,
Yeah.
meaning there's no contingency argument.
Oh, I get what you mean. Okay,
So it's self-defeating.
No, hold on.
So it's that's it, finished.
Hold on.
Halas.
No.
that's
Nice try. But here's
Nice try.
here's what we will say. There's a response to that.
I understand.
There is a response to that.
I know.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about is that you've got a necessary being. We accept there's a necessary being. Now, if it's the case that there's a necessary being, and whatever comes out of that necessary, or whatever is manifest from that necessary being, is also necessary, then there is no contingent things. That's basically what you're saying. Therefore, that's what you mean by modal collapse.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I understand what he's saying, bro. I'll be honest. I was saying the
We
same
were
thing.
trying to say the same thing for like 3 hours.
That's been dealt with by our scholars.
How's it been noticed?
Oh yeah, so great. So I've got actually a whole chapter on this in the
That's
book.
fantastic.
Yeah, you can read it.
Okay.
From one perspective, you're actually right. So whatever comes from the necessary thing is necessary. From one perspective, I'm necessary, you're necessary, and he's necessary. Because anything that comes from the necessary is necessary. But here's the argument. When I say dependent things, I put a little asterisk there. Now listen to this, yeah?
He has to qualify it, doesn't
Now I have to qualify it.
he? Yeah.
Because everything from one perspective is necessary, I accept that.
By supposition maybe?
No, let me explain now, because now
Yeah,
we're
go
getting
on.
somewhere.
Sorry.
From another perspective, I'm saying that in abstraction. Now, I what I mean by that. You know, you say if P equals Q, P therefore Q, if that's coming from necessary, it must be necessary. I accept from one perspective. That's the thing with the cosmic skepticism, and down the side I'm saying. I accept from one perspective. From another perspective, I don't accept. What is that other perspective? In abstraction. This bottle in abstraction is not, there's nothing necessary about it. It doesn't have the intrinsic qualities of necessity.
I would
No, do you get it? What I'm saying is
I understand that.
what I'm saying is that dependent things in abstraction are not necessary. They can only be necessary by virtue of another, which is the necessary thing.
So
Well, that's a wait. Hold on. So that's a particular view of not only dependence but also contingency, right? What the modal collapse objection? So people
Do
like
you understand my point?
yeah, you're saying that there are two ways in which you can view it. That's what you're saying. Now, the first
From one
view.
perspective, I agree.
So from one perspective, he's arguing that in some sense
Yeah.
everything can be considered as necessary.
Yes.
Now, would it be fair to your position to say that there is no other that this is the best state of affairs that the necessary being could have actualized? Would that be fair to your position?
That's the position of Ghazali.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm
That's not
asking.
I don't know. I don't have a. Yeah,
I'm asking
I'm
you.
looking into that.
Yeah, I
Because
see. So, for
that
example,
that one there is
Yeah.
a good question.
So in my reading of like Ghazali, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Like I would say that Ghazali posits that might be the case, but I don't think, let's say
Yeah,
dogmatically, I don't think that he has to hold to it.
You are right, because there's actually
I know,
there's a
but-
discussion about that.
Yeah, I know, but like, what I'm saying
to you
is-
it's a good question. I don't
It's
have
not
an answer
good.
on that.
No, that's fine.
Because
So-
that one there is actually a good question.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about when it comes to the, just please, yeah. So when it comes to the modal collapse objection, I'm going to use different terms because, by the way, I hate analytic philosophy, okay?
Me too.
I'm a scholastic.
I don't like analytic philosophy. I just have to deal with it when I have to do
Yeah,
it.
we don't want to use like
So why are you on his side?
Because you're more familiar with it. What?
Are you not? Are you?
It's not about science. It's not about science. What I'm saying is,
It's not the argument.
It's not the argument.
It's Thomas Aquinas.
no, Aquinas Aquinas' third way would accept, in some sense, necessity by supposition. So, for example, if I said that, boom, your big leg is cut off, yeah, necessarily you wouldn't be able to walk. However, if you sit down, necessarily you wouldn't be able to walk either. These are the distinctions that he gives. So there's a certain kind of necessity in the second definition that wouldn't entail the first. Right. But you're saying, so then you're agreeing with me saying that there is necessity by supposition, not necessity absolutely.
That's right.
Now, this is the issue, though. This is the issue that I would say. I would say that... Yeah, that's not the third way in itself. The third way has to be with...
Didn't tell me that. I'm saying that... No, bro, can I just tell you something?
Yeah, go on.
The third way of Thomas Aquinas,
right?
Most scholars maintain that it was taken from Ibn Sina.
Yeah, no, I agree that Thomas Aquinas, he references Ibn Sina, but the problem is...
I get it, but what I'm just trying to say to you is...
Yeah, go on.
What I'm saying to you here...
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you here...
Yeah.
Is not different from the third way entailment. I'm saying that whatever Thomas Aquinas said on the third way, the entailment of the third way, I follow that. For the most part.
Is the third way distinct from the first way that he makes?
Yes.
Okay, so I would hold the view that the third way and the first way are mutually intelligible.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I would say that, I'm saying that in a biconist. The reason why he's saying that is ways only in the distinction of reason. So there are like 9 or 10 distinctions that Aquinas gives. So we say this is in the distinction of reason, which is basically just on the part of the intellect itself, rather than in reality. Now that's that big word.
He distinguishes them himself.
Then he distinguishes them on the part of the reason.
I'm making the argument that...
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to help you out here. So when it comes to Aquinas, in his thought, when he writes the Summa, he only distinguishes them insofar as a reader can understand them. He's not saying that the Summa is incredibly massive.
No one's read that.
No, I was able to, yeah.
The whole thing?
The whole Summa? Apart from the supplementum. Yeah. So there's the Summa. No, but again, the Summa, it has to be read in a specific way. So there's like Garrigou Lagrange's commentary as well, as well as the Manual of Tradition, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
No, I'm not familiar with.
Right, so I'm a Thomist, so this is my whole jam, right? Sorry, apologies. So I'm actually so sorry. So when it comes to what Aquinas is saying, right, the argument that he's trying to present to you is that when you have, for example, God's creative power, it depends on how you view God's creative power. For example, so the modal collapse objection, I'm going to use it in the way that like modern philosophers such as Craig would say.
In your opinion, how would Aquinas respond to the modal collapse objection?
So Aquinas, so the way that Aquinas would respond to the modal collapse objection is that he would presuppose divine simplicity. What he would say
again?
He would presuppose divine simplicity.
Okay.
So with, I don't know if you accept divine simplicity or not.
In one sense, not another sense, but go on.
I'm talking about in like the Aristotelian form.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly, right. What about in the Aristotelian form?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so keep going.
So when we talk about divine simplicity, for Aquinas, he would say that since the notion that is supplied by active power, which is God's just like second act, that is always in second act rather than first act. So because it's in second act, then we can say that it would be an atemporal action that happens, rather than something that has to exist in time that happens before. So the only necessity it can have is necessity by supposition. It's the same thing with people like Palamas.
By the way, I affirm that.
But the only way that works is if God is identical to that creative act.
No, it's not identical. It's not.
That's the thing. So that now we get to the status, right?
Because that's not true, bro. It's like
I'm arguing that if you don't, so if you say that the creative act of God,
that's not true, bro. Because what it is.
Hold on. I understand that your point is going to say you're going to say that they don't have to. I understand that, right? So let's walk through, because I don't know if half of the people understand what's being said here, right? It's just me and you, Right, cool. When we talk about God's creative power, okay, the creative act, not just the power, right, because that's going to be first act, you're going to define it as first actuality, meaning something that is in act irrelevant to the agent and in potency irrelevant to the effect. The problem with that is that would entail changing God, and so the creative act has to be in second act, which you would agree with. Here's the issue though. If those two things are distinct, now you have two necessary existing things rather than two necessary existences in the, let's say, concrete way. So, if that is the case, then the P implies Q relation now comes in. Okay. Let's say we have God.
Are you saying there's two necessary existences?
I'm not saying that, because I would affirm that they're identical. I would take the Thomistic position.
Okay, let me ask you a question. On Thomas Aquinas' view, this bottle,
go on.
Does it exist by necessity?
No.
So what is it?
It would exist. It would exist contingently. Sorry, my words. It would exist contingently. So it depends.
Is there any perspective?
I want to answer your question
Go
how,
on.
right? No, again. The question how is warranted, but again, it depends on what school you follow, depending on how you define dependency and contingency and stuff like that.
Go on.
No, right. In the Thomistic school of thought, we can say contingency would just be argued that considering the quiddity of the thing itself, right, is existence to be applied to it in an actual sense. So, for example, if I may, thank you. Bottle of water that he just finished, great by the way, good hygiene. Bottle of water, if you consider the quiddity of the bottle does not have to have actual existence or essay, right? Yeah. However, if you consider God, since Aquinas' definition of God is very similar to Avicenna as well as like other New Platonists, his definition of God is ipsum esse subsistence.
But you're not kind of answering my question here.
I am. Just let me finish. Trust me.
Is this bottle contingent?
Yes, but the reason why it's contingent is because when you consider the quiddity of the bottle in itself,
that's exactly
existence isn't applied. Now,
right,
you're going to say...
Bro, what's your name again?
SiiiG. SiiiG. SiiiG.
Listen,
Yo.
from one perspective, the fact that God, the instantiation of this bottle is because God, the necessary existence, put it into existence.
I agree with that. That's fine.
So, is that done necessarily?
Now, that depends. It depends on your view, right?
Yeah.
I would not say even from that. I would say that if this exists, then necessarily God created. If that's what you're saying,
no.
That's the thing. All right. You're saying if God exists, He necessarily created that.
Yes.
That's what he's going to say is modal collapse. Now, what type of necessity are you using?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go on.
So the necessity is dictated by the will of God.
Oh, no. I said, when you say the term necessity itself, what does that mean? Are you using it in a mode? So, for example, we can have modal necessity where we say that it exists in all possible worlds. So, for example, you would say, God. Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. So when you say necessity, there are different usages. So
I'm not using it in that sense.
Right, so what use are you using?
I'm using it in a sense that exists necessarily.
You're just saying the word. I'm asking for the definition.
No. But you're saying to me in all possible worlds. Why does that have to be all possible worlds?
Right, no. That's what modal necessity means. So when we talk about
real in a real sense or in an instrumental sense.
No. Not with David Lewis. It's more so just to do with.
So like the bottle could have been in a different way, right? So we're saying.
So like for example, if I take the bottle of water, right? Yeah, go.
Let me explain the position.
Because I'm not using David Lewis, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not a Thomist, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be similar. It's going to have to be similar.
You're going to try and argue that summa contra gentiles, though.
No, I'm saying the following. In abstraction, like you said.
Not necessarily.
You said in essence. I was listening closely to what you're saying to understand.
Yeah.
In essence, there's no intrinsic attribute in this bottle.
No. There is no existence.
There's no intrinsic attribute in this bottle. There's nothing in this bottle, in essence, which has necessity in it. Okay, you agree with that?
Which has existence in it.
As a Thomas has existence in it.
So, for example,
okay. I know.
Please. Trust me. I need to qualify this, please. Yeah. Bro,
go.
I'm coming. So when it comes to necessity for Aquinas, right? He makes a distinction. I'm sure you're aware of this. Right, but that's in the day essay.
Same distinction.
Pardon?
What's that guy called that debated Graham Oppie, the Christian guy?
Coons? No.
The one who wrote a book on Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas.
Fraser. Oh my God, yeah, Ed Fraser. But Ed Fraser. Okay, so I'm not a Phaesarian Thomist, right? But when it comes to Aquinas, I'm talking about the work he made.
Fraser explains in his book.
Yep.
That Thomas Aquinas, because that's how I understand Thomas Aquinas
from Fraser. So you're a Phaesarian Thomist?
No, I'm not a Phaesarian anything.
So you're understanding Aquinas through Fraser.
One of the guys that I look through. Yeah?
Exactly. You're using Aquinas through Fraser.
What I'm saying is that he distinguishes between essence and existence.
Okay.
Right? Okay. That's notwithstanding the point, because what I'm saying to you, whether or not, he gives the following example. Is there a difference between the circle, the existence of it, and the essence of it?
Yes.
So
there's a difference between
he says that Thomas Aquinas would say that there's the difference is that the essence of the circle is the circularity of it.
Yeah, like the quiddity is this definition.
Yeah, sure.
But in the definition, existence is an entail.
I understand, but what I'm saying is you're kind of moving away from the contingency point. Is this bottle contingent on Thomas Aquinas' worldview?
In his worldviews. Please, because again, the Summa is a very big book, but we're referring to the Diente, which I don't know if you've read, right? Exactly right.
So read the whole Summa.
I'm telling you about the Diente, right? He made this at 30 years old when he made it for his Dominican students. So I'm explaining, right? So the bottle of water, you would consider the bottle of water in its definition. Now, if you consider the definition of the water, existence is not going to be part of the definition, and thus it wouldn't be necessary. That's what he's saying. It's not entailed in the definition of the subject that existence is there. For example, you could conceive of a unicorn without the unicorn having to exist.
Sure.
Now, for God, you would say this, right? God is necessary because in the definition of God, God is, as Aquinas says, ipsum esse subsistens.
I get what you're saying, but
existence is entailed in that. If I can finish, please.
I get it, but you're not dealing with what I'm asking.
That's why it's contingent. That's why it's contingent.
Right, okay.
That's why.
Okay, so why is there no? Why is it not a modal collapse? You believe in necessary being, right?
Yeah.
Thomas Aquinas believes in necessary being.
Yeah.
So why is it not a modal collapse according to Thomas
Because
Aquinas?
I accept necessity by supposition.
How?
So necessity by supposition with the example I gave before, the
Show
man
me.
and the leg and the
Now, give me an
sea.
example of this, boss.
Oh yeah. So
How would that work?
if P then Q, so we're going to have a one-way relation, right?
Yes.
So if P then Q, if the bottle exists, then necessarily God created it.
Yes.
However, the relation would not work. It's not a biconditional, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't work. However, just because God exists, it would not entail the existence of the bottle.
But that's only because he affirms divine
But I affirm divine simplicity, and God's creative action is its second act.
With all due respect,
That's fine.
what you've just said there is exactly my position.
But I'm saying
No,
that
hold on.
position.
No, bro, please. Because I don't like what you're doing right now.
What am I doing?
What you're doing is,
Yeah.
you understand exactly where I'm coming from, but I feel like there's a big insincerity here. Excuse me.
No, that's not what's going on. That's
Thomas
not what's
Aquinas,
going on.
excuse me, bro.
Yeah, it's fine. That's not what's going on at all.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's fine.
This bottle, okay, I accept. I'm articulating it in a different way.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying that this bottle, from one perspective, is contingent.
Yes.
Because in abstraction, there's nothing within this bottle.
In abstraction.
In abstraction, there's nothing within this bottle, nothing within the existence of this bottle, which has necessity within it.
Okay, you're just using necessity as a like.
No problem
property.
how I'm
That's fine.
articulating the point. Thomas Aquinas would not disagree with what I'm saying.
I'm trying to understand the point
Thomas
because
Aquinas cannot disagree with what I'm saying right now. Do you understand what I'm
right
saying?
now, no.
Well, you know what I'm saying, right?
I'm trying
From
to walk
another
through.
perspective, if P then Q, then P therefore Q.
Yeah, if P then Q, yeah.
Modus ponens. You're saying it's a one-way relationship of necessity because God's creative act.
Yeah, because we can't
That's
affirm the
exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that from one perspective, it's one way.
Okay.
It's one way. It is because God is necessary. That bottle exists because of God.
Okay.
That's the
Now
same thing.
this is the question.
What's the difference between what I believe and what you believe?
Because of what the creative action is.
Okay.
So let's break this
Yes.
down. Right. So to what degree do you understand first and second acts, like Aristotle stuff?
Just please tell me.
So that I know like how to like refer to it.
I don't know. Go on.
Okay, that's great. So first actuality, we can consider it as just for example, could you close your eyes please? Okay, cool. Your ability to see is going to be what we call first act. You seeing is going to be second actuality.
Okay, is that what it says, yeah?
Right, yeah, exactly. And people like Palamas say the same thing. The intelligent Gregory Palamas,
Okay.
a Greek theologian, very intelligent guy, whatever. Point is this though.
What's the point?
The point is that creative act has to be in second actuality. So in order for necessity by supposition has to work,
Yes.
it has to be in second act. So with actually seeing, right? Otherwise, God moves from potentia to actuality in Himself, which we can't affirm. Yeah, go on.
Well, I don't understand your point.
Oh, right.
Second act meaning what?
In this example, the seeing. So if we apply that to God, we can say that the first act would be God's ability to create. Second act would be God actually creating. Now, here's the thing. The act of creating, is that a necessary action in itself or a contingent action?
We would say it's determined by the will of God, right? You would agree with that?
The will of God would be His act.
Right, fine.
Right, and that's fine. That's
So
fine.
what's the problem?
The problem is we need to know. So
Where do we differ?
we differ. Well, we don't. Okay, we differ
Yeah.
in the articulation of whether this
Excellent,
creation
but
act. Oh no.
Fine.
We differ.
actually differ then.
We differ in the understanding of whether the creative act is first or second act. So you said, and this is the response that you gave. You said that the necessity. Sorry, no. You said that the act of creating is just going to be the will of God, right? It's going to be taught by the will of God. Now I understand that point. That does not address the question asked. The act
What did you
of
say?
creation. Yeah, the act of creating itself. The act of creating.
That's
is
fine.
that.
I mean, so what? Like,
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
first actuality
does
or
that mean?
second
What does that
actuality?
mean?
With the
does that
example I
mean?
used before,
The eyes and see.
the eye and the
I
seeing.
don't get you. I don't
Okay.
understand.
So first actuality
Yes.
is. So if you just could step back a bit, if that's okay. Just step back a bit, if that's okay. Sorry, I just need some space. Like camera thing on my leg. That's what I'm trying to. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, if we had chairs, it'd be great, but we don't. Do you want to go to place with chairs? We can take the cameras. No one cares. It's
Have we
fine.
got time?
We
or
got time.
we gotta go?
Let's just finish it. Let's finish it. Go on.
my
What do you mean
legend.
by first act and second act?
So first act, right?
This is Aristotelian term.
Yeah, these are Aristotelian terms. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you mean by
These
it?
are terms, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm explaining to you.
Yeah.
It's fine. So if you're speaking fast, by the way, guys.
No, go on.
So when it comes to first actuality,
Yes.
think of it as the power, ability, dunamis of a thing, right? In Greek, dunamai, right, meaning the ability to do X. In an example, the ability to see. This remains in act even when the ability itself is not being used. That's called first actuality. People like T. Compino will give the example of the fact that this can be actus purus in some sense.
Okay, so I don't understand. Why is this bottle contingent or necessary in your worldview?
It will be contingent.
Okay, excellent. But is it necessary from one perspective? That it's necessary because of God, the necessary.
By supposition only.
Excellent. Same thing.
Right,
I agree.
that's
So,
fine.
yes, I agree. I agree with what you said.
Okay, you agree with what I said?
Okay, so
now I'm going to say
so
that
you
you
disagree with
can't...
him?
Pardon?
You disagree with him?
In what sense?
So no, hold on. No,
I know you're trying to...
No, I'm not trying to do anything.
I'm saying to you.
just saying.
No. What's going on is that...
Please, bro, please. Rico.
He's Rico. I'm sick.
Oh, sorry.
It's cool. It's cool.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
So me and you both believe
Yeah.
a necessary being.
Yep.
And that necessary being placed into the world contingent things.
Yeah.
And those contingent things are necessary from one perspective only because they come from necessary.
Only from
So
supposition. but
how
the
would you
problem-
respond to his modal collapse objection?
Well, I believe in divine simplicity. The creative act is second actuality, and
Because
since it's
anything-
atemporal, it's fine.
Because he believes in divine simplicity, anything predicated to God is God.
That's exactly my view. So
You affirm divine
So you
simplicity.
believe that God is identical to his creative act?
No, but you don't have
That's
to
the
believe.
thing.
No, but that's you didn't explain in your explanation.
I tried to, but then you said, brother, please. That's what you did.
You just said identicality. You used what
I didn't do that, but I said it in an absolute sense.
I want to know this because I've read the Summa with at least the third way. And the
How
first
much
way.
of the Summa have you read?
No, about 200 pages.
No, as in like how many questions?
I only read the bit.
You know how there's prima pars, Segunda,
No, I
Segunda
didn't read all that
Partis.
stuff. I
Right,
read
so
the
don't say
theology-
200 pages, like different translation. I don't really understand. So just say like,
You asked me a question of how much I
yeah,
read.
if someone says, for example, how much of a, no, for example, if I say how much of Augustus De Trinitas have I read, I'll be like 15 chapters,
I
right?
don't know. I don't know how many chapters. I just read the ways, innit?
Oh, okay, so you haven't passed question 3. You haven't passed question 3, that's fine.
I don't know if it's question 3 or question
Is it question 2? It's fine.
Is it question 2?
Question 2, yeah. Which is whether the existence of God is demonstrable, then he gives arguments for
Past that,
it.
bro.
So then you're probably on like, have you got to the perfections of God yet?
I can't remember.
Right,
Yeah,
so-
perfection of God. Yeah.
Right, so then you're on question 4, right? Just touching into it.
Yeah, and then that and the theology. Anyway,
Yeah, simplicity, yeah.
go back to the point.
Yeah,
My question is this:
yeah.
you believe? You said identicality.
No, you said I didn't use that, remember?
Okay, so can you explain what you mean by identicality?
I didn't use it, so I'm not explaining it. I didn't use it, you did.
Okay, good. So you don't believe that God has to be identical to His creation?
I can use the term now because you want me to
Do
clarify,
you
that's
believe that
fine.
God is identical to His creation?
No.
Okay. So then we don't disagree in anything.
No, we don't
On this
disagree.
point.
We don't disagree on this point,
So
however,
can I ask you a question?
you're going to say, why am I arguing against you?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that maybe there may be certain entailments of your position that are different from mine.
No, but I'm saying that I am sympathetic to Aquinas' third way. So why are you unsympathetic to my articulation?
Because in Aquinas' third way, Aquinas identifies God as just existence itself, which you understand. So hold on. So this is important, right? Huh?
That's exactly what Ibn Sina says.
Yeah, right. But you would agree with me that in your articulation, wujud is a genus. Wujud, existence is a genus. Right. Aquinas believes that existence is not a genus. God is not contained in self, so he disagrees.
Yeah, that's Ibn
with
Taymiyyah's
your-
view.
Right, I understand that's Ibn Taymiyyah's view. That's fine. People like
Okay, so
Islam
I'm just
disagree.
saying I don't care. Like that's semantical.
That's not semantical. If it's a genus,
With respect.
if it's a genus, it's composite. That's the problem.
Exactly. And if it's composite, then it's
Then
contingent.
it's finite,
And if it's
right?
contingent,
Yeah,
then it rejects
no,
the...
but
That's
then-
why you
no,
have
no,
certain philosophers that
can I
say God
respond?
doesn't exist
Can I
as
respond?
wujud in a
Can
genus.
I respond?
Yeah, go on.
What do you call it? The nominalist response.
Oh, you're a nominalist?
I'm sympathetic to the opinion.
Fez?
Okay.
You seem not to be committed to a position, but
No.
that's very smart. That's very smart.
No, I'm-
I want to do the same thing. I would just say like,
I'm sympathetic to the opinion.
I get you.
What Ibn Taymiyyah responds to this? He says that when you say that Wajib al-Wujud is a composite because it's, what do you call it? Jins and Fasl or whatever, yeah? Which is that genus and it's two
Genus
things.
and species, right.
Yeah, genus and species, right?
Yeah.
So his response that it's only like that in the mind. It doesn't. It's not like that as an ontological existence. Ontologically, it's not really like that. It's not a composite ontologically.
So then they're not distinct outside of the mind.
Pardon?
So again, like you're breaking up Ibn Taymiyyah very well. By the way, Ibn Taymiyyah says different things when it comes to applying it to God.
No,
and
I'm
stuff
just
like
saying to you. I'm just saying to you that
I know what you just
that
said.
doesn't. It's inconsequential to the point. The point is this.
So then we didn't need to mention it.
No, I'm only mentioning this
Yeah.
to show you there's difference of opinion within Islam.
I know.
I'm only saying to you.
Yeah.
Right?
But we're
This-
talking about your position.
My position is as follows. Yeah. This bottle is
Yeah.
contingent.
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
But it's necessary from one perspective. You
Okay.
agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. He said that entails modal collapse.
Is that what you're saying?
No. So look, given that the reason why his position is a bit different from yours.
Yeah, go on, tell me what you think.
Two things. One, he's a classical theist, right? So he believes that God isn't a being among beings, that God is being.
It's a
God doesn't even have desires in his worldview.
What's that got to do with anything, bro?
I'll tell you why. Because
How does that affect?
Hold on.
No,
So God isn't an agent in his view. So when we say, so the reason why
This seems.
hold on.
This doesn't seem right.
I'll
bro.
explain to you why my particular.
It seems like it's staged almost.
No. Look, the reason why it doesn't work against his particular position, which I'm still studying, I'm still looking into, still trying to like.
Wait, so why is it not modal collapse? What do you think?
Because
Okay, so excuse me. Let me ask you a very specific question. You've read Thomas Brand's Third Way.
no, not all of it. Well, I mean, I've read like some of his ways.
Okay, can you summarize it?
the third way.
Yes.
Did they answer?
No. The Diente argument is the strongest one
Can
he
you
makes.
summarize the Third Way?
I'm going to try and make sure it's distinct from the first way.
Go
Right?
on.
Okay, arguing for motion. I think he's going to be arguing for. Oh, right. So essentially,
anything that's in act.
no. He's going to be like
No, that's the
basically.
second way.
No.
That's the second way.
No, that's the argument from efficient cause. No. That's the argument from efficient cause. Argument from
What's the first
possibility
way?
and necessity.
That's
That's
the
what.
third way.
I know. I'm just trying to make sure that's distinct from the first way because
Go on.
they're so similar. I
No,
can't
you're
even-
Thomas. This is easy.
Yeah, no. It's not easy to distinguish them unless you really think.
Go on,
So.
what's the third way?
Just give me a second. So, for anything that exists, it is either possible or necessary. That's what he wants to prove. But he has to prove that necessary things can exist in the first place. So what he does, he has to prove that necessary things can
He
exist.
doesn't do this.
Yes, he does. He does.
doesn't.
I can pull the tumor right now.
No, hold on. Can we just hold on?
Hold on. Listen,
Hold on.
that's really important.
Hold on, bro.
So he,
Hold on.
yeah, no, speak. Man.
He starts exactly in the same way that I've said this. He doesn't try and prove a necessary thing in the beginning.
I didn't say that.
He said he has to prove that necessary things start.
No, he has to prove. No, he has to
Contingent
prove
things.
Yeah.
He has to prove contingent things start in the first place.
No. He has to prove that there aren't only just contingent things. That's what he's trying to prove, right?
Yeah, but he does that. He argues ad absurdum.
Yeah, exactly. He argues from the impossibility of the contrary. Right.
How?
So he says, right, that let us say that there are only contingent things that exist, right?
Sorry, bro.
What would the?
No, but it just sounds so similar to something I heard today. Go on.
What was the thing you heard today?
Go on, just say it.
His postulation.
Oh, is that what he's trying to say?
Go on. Just
Yeah. So he's gonna say that for anything. Hold on. I actually want to read it in the Summa. Hold on.
Why are you finding it?
By the way, I'm be honest with you guys. I think this is a bit disingenuous.
What do you think it is?
Because I don't know, like you accept his version of the third way.
No. I'm not. Remember,
I don't use the third way. I use the Diente
So
argument.
look, I'm still looking into the answer.
It's definitely not.
So look, obviously you're aware that
Yeah, I'm just getting it. This is Article 3. So the third way. This is why I try to get the third way because there are certain terms that he uses to make it distinct from the first way. That's very hard. So basically, we find in things that are possible to be, but the way he defines possibility is that they are generatable or corruptible, right?
Yes.
Does Ibn Sina use the same thing?
No, that's Averroes.
Ibn Rushd. Yeah, Ibn Rushd, right. Really cool philosopher, by the way. I like him.
Okay, keep going.
So we find in nature things that are possible to be and not to be, and consequently they are possible to be and not to be. So it's just establishing the existence of possible things. Now, it is impossible for contingent things to always exist because in the definition of it, at some time they could have not existed or they didn't exist. And so it is impossible for these things always to exist, for that which is possible not to be at some time isn't existing. So let's say that there was a time where there was no contingent things, there would be nothing. But evidently there is something, therefore there would be necessary things.
So he's saying that it's impossible for there to be a situation where there's only contingent things that
Well,
exist.
by necessary, he's also including angels. So, for example, when Aquinas talks about
No, but do you agree with that? He's trying to show the impossibility of the existence of only contingent things. Would you agree with that?
that he's trying to show the possibility.
Yes.
No,
He's showing the impossibility.
Oh, impossibility. Yes.
Of only contingent things.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a sufficient reason
No, what is a sufficient reason?
that it is impossible.
Why is it impossible?
Right. The reason why it's impossible is he's using a proof by contradiction.
Yes.
So let's say that we assume that this thing is the case. So assume the contrary is the case. The contrary would entail a contradiction, and thus we would enter explosion. So we can't tell that view.
Do you agree with this?
That's the sufficient reason.
I agree with that.
That's a sufficient reason.
I agree with that argument.
Is that a sufficient reason?
Yeah, this is.
But guess what?
We all agree with the same argument.
Wait, guess what?
Really?
Wait, hold on. But guess what?
That is exactly
But
what
guess
we
what? That means that as a Thomas, but that means guess what? Hold on. Guess what?
Yeah.
That means Aquinas used the PSR.
No problem.
Right, that's what we're saying. Now let's just clarify what you said before. Right, hold on.
Bro, there's nothing.
Is it possible? Is it possible? Hold on. Is it possible that there are PSR defiant things? That there are things that defy the
If you
PSR?
ask me, bro.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe that.
Right. Thank you. And
No,
then
I don't believe that, yeah.
right.
No, but
Yeah, go on.
What I was saying about the PSR thing, is that my articulation argument didn't have the same language as Leibniz. That's what I was saying.
We know, we already understood that like 3 hours ago, but we're saying that you still had to use the PSR. That's what we're saying.
Fine, I get what you're saying.
Thank you.
I don't disagree with that.
I know, but like this is why like
I did mention that to him, bro.
I agree. I've said it.
You agree with that? So can we? I didn't think it would end this way. I have to say.
I didn't think it would end in the way that we can now get to the implication, right? The implication is going to be.
Implication is necessary.
Okay. So the implication of Aquinas' argument would be necessary being, but now we're getting into
the implication, according to Aquinas, the existence of a necessary thing. Correct?
No, that's correct. Of necessary things in general. Yes.
No.
Yes. No. Hold on.
Clearly goes for one. And he
No. That's false. No. And the reason I understand that is because angels, even by Facebook, and you've read Facebook, right?
you're right.
He says that angels are necessary, and he has to distinguish between necessary per aliud and necessary per se.
That's what I was saying, brother. Can I say something?
Go on.
What you just what's the other one?
Per aliud.
Per aliud.
Yes.
What I was saying in abstraction versus.
No.
I beg you. Just wait.
Per aliud is not an abstraction.
No, I'm not saying that. Per se is. I'm saying that. Yeah, per se. No, wait.
No, it's fine. Go.
Wait. Go. You know, you said it's presupposed that it's necessity through presupposition. But we're using
supposition.
Through supposition.
Yeah.
And we're using different language, but we're saying the same thing. You have to appreciate this.
Okay, I'm appreciating the fact that you're agreeing with me, and I appreciate that. But here's the problem. Bravo, come on. Look,
I appreciate one point. Maybe the third way by itself, I don't think that Thomas Aquinas, he expected one of those arguments to be sufficient by themselves.
Actually,
I don't think so. I think I have read secondary source material that indicates, might be wrong.
such as who?
Faisal, I think, but I might be wrong. But let me double check. It's in my book though. But I think Faisal, I have to double check.
Faisal says that the arguments can be taken in isolation, but it's more powerful to put them together.
When you put them together.
Right, but this is important. This is important.
Let me just make the point.
Yes, fine.
I'm saying the following.
Yeah.
Even if one agrees, so fine. He makes these distinctions.
Yeah.
I do strongly believe that in the third way, he's arguing for one necessary existence.
That's fine.
Fine.
In its end, yes.
Fine.
For one per se existence.
Is that going to be entailed by the argument alone?
Hold on. This is why we're trying to, because again, we're having what we're doing is a symposium. We're not arguing.
I'm not talking.
I know you're not.
Yeah,
I know
sure,
you're
sure.
not. The reason why I'm referencing the language. Okay, look.
It could not be. But the point is this: the most important point of this discussion is the following.
Yeah.
We have now come to a conclusion that the third way, okay, he agrees with the argument.
He agrees that the argument would be valid in this
It's
sense.
valid. I'm just saying it's different.
The argument, it can be summarized as there cannot be contingent things alone in existence. I said there cannot be dependent things alone in existence. Fine, contingent things, dependent things. You agree with that, yeah?
But you said there's a difference between them.
Fine, no problem.
Let me just quickly.
Well, I'm just saying, do you agree with that?
That there can't be dependent things only?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's on my schema though.
No problem. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, on my schema.
Except, okay, there cannot be contingent things alone.
On my schema, yes.
You agree with that?
On my schema, yeah.
Sure. All right, you agree with that? Thank you. I'm gonna go pray now because we're done.
No, we're not done. Hold on. Before you go and pray, this is why you need me. Hold on. Before you go, hold on. Before you go, hold on. Before you go, it's fine. It's fine. What's the time? Look, I missed my Vespa. Here's the problem though. I missed my Vespa, but it's fine. Hold on. The reason why his argument works is because there is a certain view of the PSR that you hold. That's what he was trying to get to the entire time. No, I didn't do that. That's not what's going on. He's trying to say my view. That's not what's going on. No, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on.
We agree.
Your view entails a certain view of the PSR. That's the problem, Mohammed. Right? So because your view entails
What is that one?
either a strong or weak version of the PSR, right? So here's the point. That's fine. Look,
I'll just pray first and then we can finish this off.
that's fine.
I'm happy.
I don't need to pray in front of people. I need to go and pray my Vespa.
No, not you. You don't need to pray.
Yeah, I know.
need to pray.
No, I need to pray.
Okay, you can pray.
I'm gonna go and pray my Vespa
Pray in front of people.
because I'm supposed to go in my inner room, as Christ
Go to
says.
your inner room.
That's fine. I'm gonna go and pray my Vespa.
I'm gonna pray about something.
You're in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I need to pray my sick Vespa. Hold on. I need to pray my fourth Vespa and then go.
Right, let's do a quick wrap up.
Okay, this is the wrap up. Obviously, Muhammad Hijab doesn't understand like how PSR really works. Okay, it's fine. his view of the PSR, as other people like Halil and Dani have pointed out, is that there is no way in which like different worlds can exist. This is the best possible world. It's necessary. There is no other way that God could have created the world. It's the only way that God could have created the world. Now here is the problem. Depending on his view on the PSR is going to lead to different things. Now Christians, he tried to do a big display earlier that he's going to go and pray in front of everyone. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and pray my Vesper. I don't need to record me praying my Vesper because I don't care about whether other people can see me praying. If you're a Christian in the park, you can come and pray with me. But I'm going to go and pray my Vesper. See you later.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. See you.
I need to go and pray my Vesper.